Chapter 1151. Two black shadows dashed out. In midair, they blocked the attacks of the leader of the single-toothed rats and the strange Batman, so there was no need for Yu Yang to make a move. They were, of course, Raven and Pelican, who had been strengthened by the giant shadow. Originally, with their strength, even with the forbidden power, it would have been very difficult to defeat the single-toothed rats and the strange Batman. After all, the Five Senses Generals were the strongest divine generals in the West God Nation. In a way, the Five Senses Generals were not inferior to the five great villains, and their status was even higher. Raven flung out his cloak and parried the attack of the single-toothed rats. His body retreated slightly, sliding about a meter. On the other side, Pelican was much weaker. He was rebounded by a heavy blow from the strange Batman, and his huge body was pushed back more than 10 meters. He crashed into a meteorite, causing it to explode. He felt a tightness in his chest, and only then did he manage to stand up. Although that was the case, Pelican was also very surprised. It should be known that in the battle with the five great villains, Ravenous Ghost alone could easily injure him and Raven, and capture them in one fell swoop. Now, although there was still a slight gap, there was no longer the feeling of powerlessness from before. He could fight it head-on, so what if he was slightly at a disadvantage? He had the support of the giant shadow, and the more he fused with it, the more his strength would increase. Now it was 40 times. If he had 50 times, then he could stand still like Raven, and even repel this bat. Although the single-toothed rats in front of him looked extremely wretched, in terms of strength, it was definitely the leader of the Five Senses Generals. If Raven could withstand the single-toothed rats, then he could definitely withstand the big-eared bats too. Pelican's fighting spirit soared, and he roared like thunder. He lifted a huge meteorite with all his might, and threw it at the big-eared bat. In the instant that the other party dodged, he charged towards the big-eared bat like a tank. Any move, in the face of absolute strength and huge size, was nothing. Big-eared bat was hit by the Pelican's charge, and his entire body was thrown high into the air, as if he had been rammed by a mammoth. But before the Pelican could rejoice, he suddenly realized that the body of the big-eared bat that had been tossed into the air had split into countless little bats, numbering in the tens of thousands. They scattered across the sky like dark clouds circling above his head. Without waiting for the Pelican on the ground to react, dozens of bats immediately swooped down and ruthlessly bit his body. Compared to these nimble bats, the giant Pelican looked clumsy. He couldn't defend against the bats that swooped down. He could only angrily grab one on his arm and tear it to pieces. However, he couldn't stop such a large number of bats from attacking him one after another. Tiny bite wounds began to appear on his body. Once they saw blood, the bats became even crazier. It squeaked. Many bats swooped down fearlessly, desperately sucking blood from Pelican's wounds. A giant as strong as Pelican, after a short period of sucking blood, he started to show signs of weakness that only a sick man would have. He was dizzy, his head heavy as he waved his arms, chasing away the bats that filled the sky. Although dozens of bats were torn to pieces by him and turned into minced meat, but there were even more bats that dodged his attacks and flew back into the sky. Something strange happened. Those bats that had sucked the blood would emit countless black smoke and split into two. Some that had sucked enough blood could even split again, from 1 to 2 and from 2 to 4. In the blink of an eye, these bats had recovered and increased in number. Yu Yang, who was watching from the side, used his Heaven Eye's divine vision to observe the entire process. He realized that these bats had increased in number by at least 500 because they had sucked Pelican's blood. Now that there were over tens of thousands of bats, who knew how many of Pelican's stronger martial artists had been sucked. Not good. Maupadi also realized that the situation was not good. These bats, after killing them, would increase in number. As long as they sucked blood, their numbers would increase. How could he deal with them? Big-eared bat, if you have the guts, fight with me properly. Pelican was extremely depressed. Now that he finally had such great power, who knew that the opponent would be so shameless, not fighting him head-on, but using such underhanded tactics. I'm not afraid that I can't catch up to you. On the other side, Raven was also unhappily chasing after the sentinel-tooth rat. What an idiot! The sentinel-tooth rat's speed was as fast as lightning, but that was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that it had successfully spat a mouthful of plague poison at Raven's face. Infected with the plague poison, Raven's life was temporarily not in danger, but his speed was getting worse, and in the end, he was not much faster than a tortoise. With every step that Raven took, his body would become heavier. The poisoned Raven did not weaken his battle power too much. However, he had lost his speed. Without speed, in front of a strong enemy like the sentinel-tooth rat, Raven was no different from a dead man. Mao Padi was anxious, and rushed forward, wanting to intercept the sentinel-tooth rat for Raven before Raven lost his speed. Who would have thought that he would fall into the sentinel-tooth rat's trap? The sentinel-tooth rat slid through Mao Padi's earth-piercing, and was not affected in the slightest. In the instant that Raven caught up to him, he used his oversized front teeth. Ruthlessly, he bit Mao Padi's arm. At first, Mao Padi did not feel any pain, and wanted to use his spear to stab the sentinel-tooth rat, but the rat disappeared in a flash, and he did not even manage to get a single mouse hair from the sentinel-tooth rat. When he turned around to chase, his body staggered, and his vision went black for no reason. Suddenly, he felt that his arm did not belong to him, and it was extremely heavy. His eyelids were also heavy, and waves of fatigue attacked his body. Mao Padi knew that this was an extremely dangerous battlefield, but he still could not resist the deep drowsiness. Yawn after the first yawn, Mao Padi could no longer endure his body's urgent need for sleep. He mercilessly pierced his palm with the silver spear, intending to use the pain to prevent himself from sleeping, but it was useless. One of his hands was pierced, dripping with blood, but the pain was under the extreme drowsiness. It was completely covered. Mao Padi fell on the meteorite. One of his hands was dripping with blood, but he did not feel it at all and directly fell asleep. No one in the world can resist the hypnotic bite of the dormant rat. The sentinel-tooth rat sneered. He was now standing beside Raven. The distance between the two was less than 3 meters, but Raven had no way to attack him. At this time, Raven felt that his body was hot and cold. His whole body was weak and powerless. He was too lazy to even move a finger. He knew that there was an enemy in front of him, but he could not reach out his hand. His hands were tightly wrapped around the spear, and his body was trembling non-stop. If he still had a strong will to hold on, he would probably fall to the ground like Mao Padi. Be careful. Raven used the last of his strength to remind Yu Yang, the sentinel-tooth rat's body is poisonous. You still want to count on him? A rookie like him, I can kill him in less than 10 seconds. Big-eared Bat, who had returned to his human form from the fusion of countless blood-sucking bats, laughed out loud. He did not care about an opponent like Yu Yang, who did not even have the strength of a divine servant. To be able to stand in this meteorite belt was already good enough, and he still wanted to fight? Besides, even if there was a divine champion, how could he be a match for himself and the sentinel-tooth rat? This big-eared Bat, you better be careful. The sentinel-tooth rat was always so cautious. Even if the strength Yu Yang had displayed was terrible, he could keenly sense that this rookie's attitude was not like that of an ordinary rookie. At the very least, there was no panic or fear on this rookie's face, which was extremely abnormal. I say, sentinel-tooth rat, are you joking? Give me a second, I'll kill him. Big-eared Bat did not think that Yu Yang could take a single blow from him. Yu Yang did not make a sound. He was observing. Whether it was the 5 great villains or the 5 officers generals, they all had one thing in common. That was to completely fuse with the forbidden energy, and in a certain specialty, to the extreme, to display the ultimate strength in a certain aspect. Of course, the price they had to pay was very high. Ordinary people might not know about it and would envy them for their strength. However, with Yu Yang's Heaven Eyes divine vision, he discovered that no matter if it was the 5 great evildoers or the 5 sense generals, they could not be called humans anymore. They no longer had a human body, and would never have the qualifications to contract a summoning grimoire again. They could not have descendants, could not reproduce, could not return to a human body, could not contract a summoning grimoire again, and could not advance any further. They would forever be in this neither human nor ghost state. In order to make this mutation reach its limit, the 5 great villains and the 5 officers generals had used some extreme methods. For example, the 5 great villains had completely fused with some kind of ability. As for the 5 officers generals, they had fused with 5 different kinds of beasts, borrowing the beast's specialty to increase their strength. Hungry Ghost's ability was to eat corpses. As long as there was a corpse, he would be an immortal existence. This kind of corpse-eating ability also included his own corpse. It could also be eaten to be reborn. If he wanted to completely kill Hungry Ghost, he had to completely destroy him. Yu Yang saw through this, but he did not do it. He was prepared to bring Hungry Ghost back and slowly study it. The special ability of the single-toothed rat boss in front of him was different from Hungry Ghost. He relied on the special abilities of various rodents to strengthen himself. To deal with these rodent abilities, he had to use special methods. Yu Yang looked at the arrogant big-eared bat again. Needless to say, this guy had fused with various kinds of bats, especially the vampire bat's ability to strengthen his body. If he wanted to kill an enemy that could use ultrasonic waves to easily dodge the enemy's attack, and was good at flying while also sucking blood to replenish his body, he had to use some small trick. Brute force like Pelican was not enough. Seeing through this, Yu Yang felt that he could make his move. Forbidden power. He had no interest in it. However, he had previously discovered a similar forbidden power on Fatty High's body. Although it was not the same, out of curiosity, Yu Yang was thinking about how to expand Fatty High's forbidden power. That was why he wasted a lot of time to study it, hoping to accumulate some experience and let Fatty High, who had been unlucky for 18 lifetimes, try his luck. Instant kill? No, I don't want to do this. I want to torture you for a long time, to torture you until you feel the thrill. Yu Yang did not forget to remind Big-Eared Bat, if you feel the thrill, just shout, don't be shy. You dare to talk to me like this? You're really looking for death. Big-Eared Bat was provoked and immediately became angry, pouncing towards Yu Yang fiercely. Why is it that every time I tell the truth, no one believes me? Aren't you forcing me to lie? Aren't you forcing me to be a bad boy? Aren't you harming me, a young man with a pure heart and a heart full of goodness? It's your fault that I can't become a pillar of the country. It's also your fault that I can't serve the country and contribute to the 4 modernizations of the country. Tell me, for you to harm me like this, how should I punish you? Yu Yang reached out and grabbed Big-Eared Bat's neck, lifting him into the air as he asked the Big-Eared Bat, who was struggling to no avail. The spirit-toothed bat's jaw dropped to the ground. This was illogical. How could it become like this? If Big-Eared Bat could open his mouth and speak, he would definitely shout that he was wrongly accused. Just an honorable master. Whether Yu Yang was pure or not, the fact that Yu Yang couldn't become a pillar of the country and contribute to the 4 modernizations of the country really had nothing to do with him. If Big-Eared Bat could speak, he would definitely say, "You're not pockmarked, you're F***king tricking me." But no one would be able to speak when their necks were lifted into the air. Furthermore, Yu Yang had never been a person who could solve problems just by talking. It must be known that other than being reasonable, Yu Yang could talk about anything except being unreasonable. What could a person like this do to him? If Yu Yang hadn't decided to let Big-Eared Bat experience the legendary thrill of torture, he would have long used his personal skill, win people over by virtue. Chapter 1152. Yu Yang raised his hand. He gave Big-Eared Bat a few slaps, angering the divine general who had never been humiliated like this before. Not only the dumbstruck Big-Eared Rat, even he himself was baffled. How could he be captured without being able to struggle? Big-Eared Bat felt as if he had fallen into an endless quagmire. His entire body felt weak and sluggish, and he did not want to move at all. If he had not been slapped so many times and felt so humiliated, he would not even have the heart to retaliate. Does it feel good? Yu Yang was asking if Big-Eared Bat was feeling good. You are definitely dead. Big-Eared Bat had never hated a person so much in his life. Facing the man who had humiliated him the most in his life, his first thought was not to kill him, but to torture him 1,000 times, 10,000 times more. Otherwise, he would not be able to quench his hatred. Slap, slap, slap. Yu Yang gave Big-Eared Bat a few more slaps without hesitation. He did it so skillfully, as if Big-Eared Bat was begging him, and he could not take it any more, so he gave him face and slapped him. Big-Eared Bat was so angry that his eyes turned green. His whole body trembled slightly. There was a black aura. Like smoke, like fog, it came out from his body. In the blink of an eye, this black aura had enveloped his body. Countless blood-sucking bats flew out from the black aura. Yu Yang's hand was empty. Big-Eared Bat's whole body had turned into a sky full of bats, quickly escaping from Yu Yang's control. Those blood-sucking bats were circling crazily, every one of them looking for the best opportunity to attack. As long as they had the chance to bite, Yu Yang would probably be turned into a dried corpse. Net! Yu Yang's hand grabbed thin air, but his lips curled into a contemptuous smile. Just by turning into a blood-sucking bat, would it be able to escape from his grasp? When those blood-sucking bats were circling high up in the sky, a strange net had appeared out of nowhere in the sky. This net was not formed from any substance in the world. It was formed from Yu Yang's will. Threads of psyche power condensed from thoughts intertwined densely in the sky, forming a heavenly net that was comparable to the heavens. The heavenly net descended slowly. The vampire bats could fly low, but once they flew high, they would crash into the net. These telekinesis threads were formed by Yu Yang's sovereign will and had an indestructible property. The vampire bats would immediately become prey if they bumped into them. Before Yu Yang lost consciousness, there was no way he could break free. Squeak, squeak, squeak. A large number of vampire bats were caught in the net, struggling to no avail. However, there were also many people on the ground who saw that the situation was not good and immediately flew at a low altitude, trying to find an opportunity to escape the range of the sky net. Idiot! Yu Yang was amused. If the nets above snares below could be exploited, then what was the point of creating them? Return to your original form, hurry up, quickly return to your original form. The leader of the Whistling Fangs rats did not dare to get close. He observed the battle from afar and sensed that something was wrong. He hurriedly reported to the Big-Eared Bat. This choice was actually the best and most logical one, but the Big-Eared Bat, who had transformed into a swarm of vampire bats, had a weaker mental control than when he was in his human form. Furthermore, he was completely dissatisfied. Why should he give up on the battle at such an important moment? If one of the bat avatars managed to bite through the kid's skin, then the kid would be sucked dry of his blood and die. No matter how many avatars he had sacrificed, he would be able to recover immediately. The Big-Eared Bat did not follow the Whistling Fangs rat's suggestion. He felt that with so many avatars, he could still turn the tables. Having forbidden power was equivalent to having an immortal body. He had never thought that he would lose. Victory was certain. It was just that the process and timing of victory would be different. Countless vampire bats swooped down, each baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, attacking various parts of Yu Yang's body. Yu Yang flicked his finger. The first avatar of the vampire bat that was sent flying seemed to be unharmed. However, something strange happened. After the first avatar was sent flying, when it collided with the second avatar, the former immediately revealed a hideous expression of extreme pain. When the second avatar collided with the third and fourth avatars, the body of the first vampire bat suddenly inflated like a balloon. Finally reaching its limit, it could not hold on any longer and exploded in front of Yu Yang. The avatars that were sent crashing into each other after being sent flying were like blind flies. Their speed was extremely fast. It directly affected many of their companions who were flying around. The number of collisions increased exponentially. As the number of collisions increased, each of the vampire bats exploded like firecrackers. In the sky, there was a rain of bat blood that reeked of a foul stench. The few remaining avatars squeaked as they flew around, looking at the slowly descending psychic web above their heads in fear and despair. The Whistling Fangs rat's expression changed drastically. He threw himself into the air. His body that had come to rescue made a strange turn. He fled far away at a speed that was 100 times faster than before, no longer showing any reluctance. Yu Yang saw this and smiled. He did not chase after him, only forcing the few remaining bats to reform back into their original bodies, and then forcefully stuff them into the demon-subduing tower. There were still many things worth experimenting with in terms of taboo power. He would not kill the hungry ghosts or the big-eared bats for the time being. Moreover, even if Duo, who had already become a flower goddess, did not need flowers to increase her strength, it did not mean that Yu Yang did not have plans to cultivate a golden-crowned thorny flower queen. Even if Yu Yang did not need a golden-crowned thorny flower queen, it would not be bad to cultivate one for his sister Yu Bing. One must know that Yu Bing had the highest talent in plant-type beasts. With the help of a flower goddess like Duo, a new generation of golden-crowned thorny flower queen would definitely be born soon. Who knows, Duo might even turn all her subordinates into golden-crowned thorny flower queens. This was completely up to her. As a flower goddess, there was nothing she could not do with plant-type beasts. When the Shuanghua sword of the innate invisible sword Qi appeared, Raven, Pelican and Mao Padi's debuffs completely disappeared. It was as if they had never been poisoned. Aya, how could we let Whistleteeth Rat escape? Chase, let's chase. Pelican was an impatient person. Don't be impulsive. Raven naturally understood that Yu Yang had purposely let them go. What should we do now? Mao Padi was surprised and happy. He did not dare to imagine Yu Yang's identity anymore. His attitude had also changed greatly. His original plan to escape had also been temporarily put aside, waiting for Yu Yang's orders. Master Mao, it's better if you leave on the lifeboat and report to the Southeast Divine Lord as soon as possible. We must tell him the truth. This battle is just the beginning. There may be a bigger battle in the future. We must be mentally prepared. Even if Yu Yang did not say it, everyone understood that if this matter was revealed, it would inevitably lead to a war between countries, or even a war between gods. Is it really okay for Whistleteeth Rat to escape? Mao Padi now felt that his strength was not enough to help here. It was better to go back and report the news. But was it really okay for Whistleteeth Rat, the leader of the Five Senses Generals, to escape? Once he ran, he would definitely call for more powerful reinforcements. For example, the leader of the Five Senses Generals, the Right Marshal of the West God Nation, Wan Xie. That Wan Xie was not someone that the Five Senses Generals could compare to. He was an expert that far exceeded the strength of a divine general. Whether it was in the underground valley or the outer mountain, he was notorious, but no one could do anything to him. Previously, the Left Marshal of the West God Nation appeared and fought against the Griffin and the Golden Eagle. This further proved that the Right Marshal Wan Xie was not far away. Once these two giants arrived, who could match them? The Golden Eagle General and the Griffin Marshal teamed up. They could barely hold on. But it was 2 against 2. They would definitely lose. At that time, who would stand up to share the pressure? Just the galactic pirates, Raven and Pelican? Don't joke around. Even with their boss Winged Tiger, Wind Eagle and Flamingo, they were still not enough to be crushed by Ancient Skeleton or Wan Xie. Not to mention that only one of the 5 evils and the 5 senses generals was gone. Mao Padi was a little worried for Yu Yang. After all, no matter how much potential he had, he was still young. If it was 1 against 2, against Ancient Skeleton and Wan Xie, it would be difficult to fight alone. It's okay, it's just a small fight now. The real battle is still behind. Yu Yang sent Mao Padi off on the lifeboat and nodded to Raven and Pelican. The enemy came faster than we expected, and there are more of them. It seems that we have to split up. If you guys continue to follow me, it will be dangerous. The more it is like that, the more we can't leave. Pelican was a stubborn person. He felt that if a strong enemy came, he might be able to stall for a while and save Yu Yang, the youngest star with potential. Are we really going to split up? Raven was much smarter than him. Yu Yang said this because he and Pelican couldn't fight against an enemy that they couldn't. Such an enemy couldn't be defeated just by risking their lives. The enemy could probably squash them like a flea with a casual stretch of his hand. Furthermore, if they stayed, not only would they not be able to help, they would also become a burden and give the enemy a chance to take advantage of them. Yu Yang nodded. It's good that we split up. Although the strongest enemy hasn't shown up yet, I feel that this battle won't be easy. If I am alone, I can still retreat if I can't beat them. But if I bring you guys along, it won't be so easy to leave. How about this? I will save the Griffin Marshal and the Golden Eagle General. You guys go look for Winged Tiger and Wind Eagle. If there are no problems, come back here and meet up. Now that the situation is pressing, no matter whether we were soldiers or thieves in the past, we must join forces now. The enemy is a strong army that we can't fight alone. They are gradually forming an encirclement and are making arrangements. If we don't work together, I'm afraid we will all die without a burial place. Raven's heart trembled when he heard this. He nodded solemnly. Understood. The Pelican was reluctant to part with them, but he couldn't dissuade Raven. He very reluctantly bid farewell to Yu Yang and followed Raven's team to search for traces of Winged Tiger and Wind Eagle in another direction. Yu Yang, on the other hand, directly returned to the meteorite battlefield where a crazy battle was taking place. The left marshal of the West God Nation, Gu Hai, relied on his own strength to beat the Griffin Marshal and the Golden Eagle General back step by step. They could only block but not fight back. Maybe it was an illusion, or maybe there was really a god somewhere in the sky, overlooking all this. It was because of this strange feeling that Yu Yang changed his mind at the last minute. He let Old Spear leave by airship and asked Raven and Pelican to stay away from him. He hoped that the god overlooking everything was the Southeast God Lord, not the West God Lord of the West God Nation. Otherwise, this battle would be really difficult. Yu Yang was very conflicted. On the one hand, he wanted to challenge the god alone. On the other hand, he didn't want to fight with the God-State strongman so early. If he could collect more information or crack the secrets of the 8 fake gods, it would be the best time to challenge them. In another battlefield, the evil eye monkey, the long-tongued lizard, and the slug, who returned to the suspending sky carrier, met several strange opponents. These opponents, who looked like weak women, were not afraid after seeing them. Instead, they surrounded them and stretched out their small hands to play rock-paper-scissors. It seemed that they wanted to use this method to decide the winner and then decide who to fight. Rock-paper-scissors. Rock-paper-scissors. I won, I won. Future, you cheated. You are so cunning. Just as the evil eye monkey and the others were getting angry out of shame, the few girls finally decided on a winner. A girl called Future guessed and won. She was so happy that she jumped and jumped, causing the evil eye monkey and the others to roll their eyes. Could their attitudes be any more relaxed and indifferent? This is simply arrogant and ignorant. Chapter 1153. After consecutively killing off Hungry Ghost and Big-Eared Bat, these two average-sized characters, Yu Yang felt that he had been targeted. Perhaps no one had noticed him at the beginning. But after killing Hungry Ghost, the situation immediately changed. He did not know if it was because of the flying corpses report, or if there was a spy behind Hungry Ghost and the others who had been involved in the whole situation. Once the spy was cut off, someone would notice and come after him. After killing Big-Eared Bat, Yu Yang could clearly feel that someone was watching him in the dark. Moreover, his strength was unfathomable. He pretended not to know anything and first sent Mao Padi away to test the reaction of the enemy hiding in the dark. Mao Padi smoothly boarded the airship and left. It seemed that in the enemy's mind, Mao Padi was just an ant. He did not care at all. It was the same when Raven and Pelican left. The enemy hiding in the dark only paid attention to Yu Yang. For some reason, he had not made a move on Yu Yang yet. Was it because the time was not right? Or did he belong to another force and was sitting on top of the mountain to watch the tigers fight? Yu Yang could not guess the intention of the person hiding in the dark. After all, he had just arrived and knew too little about the mountain beyond mountain. While thinking, he rushed to the battlefield in the meteorite belt. Gu Gu was displaying his divine might. The Griffin Marshal and the Golden Eagle General were forced to retreat. The three of them were bewildered by Yu Yang's arrival. None of them knew who this young man was. The Griffin Marshal and the Golden Eagle General looked at each other in dismay, while the ancient skeleton had also stopped attacking, looking pensive. Yu Yang hurriedly waved his hands. "You guys continue, don't worry about me, I'm just passing by. You don't look like one of the Southeast God Lord Akaji's people, but more like one of the Eastern God Lord Deicide's people. Young man, there is a very special aura on your body. This is the mark of your people." Ancient Skeleton's reaction was extremely fast. As soon as he saw the expressions of the Griffin and the Golden Condor, he immediately realized that Yu Yang was not their friend or helper. Instead, he was a descendant of Eastern God Lord Deicide's race. He specifically pointed out Yu Yang's identity because he didn't want Yu Yang to participate in this war. The West God Nation was strong enough to bully a Southeast God Nation. Whether it was the Lord God, comprehensive national strength, or war potential, the West God Nation was far ahead. Even the three Southeast God Nations combined couldn't compare. However, in the outer mountains, the West God Nation was definitely not the strongest. At the very least, in front of the East God Nation, where the East God Lord Deicide reigned supreme, the West God Nation would never be number one in any aspect. No matter how arrogant the West God Nation cultivator was, he could only think that his country was on equal footing with the East God Nation. No one dared to say that he was the best in the world. Even the West God Lord Black Day had never said so. Gu Gu pointed it out like this to shut the mouths of the Griffin Marshal and the Golden Eagle General. Of course, Gu 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 also had the intention of testing Yu Yang's true identity. At this critical juncture, he didn't want to provoke this young man, Yu Yang. As the Left Marshal of the West God Nation, he wasn't a fool like Hungry Ghost, one of the 5 great villains, or Big-Eared Bat, one of the 5 senses general. With just one look, he could see that this young man was different and unfathomable. "Our people." Yu Yang's eyebrows moved. "No matter who I am, I have no interest in the battle between you. If you don't provoke me, I don't mind watching. As long as you don't make a move, I can give you the whole pelican." Gu 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 wanted this sentence. "Humph, I'm not dead yet. The pelican hasn't really belonged to your West God Nation yet." The Griffin Marshal immediately sneered. "What's the point of taking someone else's things as a gift? Why don't you give the West God Nation's largest and mightiest suspended mothership, the Dragon Eagle, to this little brother? Sending a pelican to such an outstanding little brother like him is an insult to him. Gu Gu, how can you have the nerve to give it to him? The Dragon Eagle is even bigger than the pelican? I like it." Yu Yang clapped his hands and laughed. Of course, there's a pelican too. I never refuse gift. If little brother needs it, we can take down the dragon eagle and give it to you as a gift. The golden eagle general naturally understood what the griffin marshal meant. The griffin marshal used this opportunity to point out to this young man the war between the forces. Now it was the West God Nation's intention to annex the Southeast God Nation. If this young man was a clansman or descendant of the East God Nation's deicide, he couldn't just sit back and watch. The 8 God Nations were led by the East and West God Nations. No matter who was the strongest, it would break the balance between them. The East God Nation couldn't tolerate the West God Nation growing stronger. They couldn't tolerate the West God Nation annexing the Southeast God Nation and using it as a bridgehead to further pressure and threaten the East God Nation. Yu Yang looked at the haggard griffin and golden eagle and smiled. Although the dragon eagle is good, I'm afraid it won't be easy to take it down? The griffin marshal answered, the difficulty of taking it down is the same as taking down this pelican. Gugu laughed. I only know one fact. The pelican is right in front of me, and the dragon eagle is thousands of miles away. If this little brother is willing to wait patiently, I guarantee that in less than 3 hours, I can offer the entire pelican to you. I have always respected the griffin marshal, but no matter what, as a senior, you can't just lie like that, can you? This is too disappointing. He took the initiative to put Yu Yang on his side, trying his best to rope him in. As long as Yu Yang didn't interfere. He was even willing to offer the entire pelican. The golden eagle general immediately raised his lips and said sarcastically, I'm afraid we won't even have to wait 3 hours. As long as deicide arrives, he will kill this little brother. Compared to Marshal Gugu, who goes back on his word and turns hostile, I personally feel that our Griffin Marshal's words are more trustworthy. For a moment, both sides engaged in a war of words, insulting each other. Although it was not as good as directly fighting, but in terms of wits and courage, it was actually better. Both sides could not figure out the power and attitude behind Yu Yang. They did not wish for this young man to support the enemy and become a variable in the grand scheme of things. Whether it was Gugu, the Griffin Marshal, or the Golden Eagle General, none of them were willing to continue fighting. They stopped for the time being, quietly waiting for their own reinforcements. They could see that no matter which side this unfathomable young man joined, the overall advantage would be tilted towards that side. Therefore, even if they could not obtain his support, they did not want to incur enmity with Yu Yang. Was Yu Yang a member of the East God Nation Deicide's tribe? This was a crucial point, but it was definitely not the main reason for the ceasefire. Because, no matter which side this young man belonged to, the power behind him was definitely not simple. It was impossible to cultivate such a young man without a huge power and a deep heritage. The battle was suddenly in a stalemate. Everyone was waiting, including Yu Yang, who was also quietly waiting for the reaction of the person hidden in the darkness. At this moment, in the suspending sky carrier, the result of the rock-paper-scissors game was out. The winner was the future of the Reaper Mantis. After the Gate of Rebirth in the Beast Valley, becoming a sage and transcending a sage, coupled with the double enlightenment from the Divine Light and the Fruit of Wisdom, as well as defeating the Sun Queen and advancing together with her master. The current Reaper Mantis was no longer the premature child of its mother, a poor little thing that could barely hatch after being frostbitten. Today, the future was the guardian beast under Yu Yang's command after Red and Ah-Man, who had undergone the most changes and improved the most. Originally, she was not as strong as the Spirit of Chaos, but she had long surpassed her partner and become a super-strong individual. Perhaps now, she could not catch up with Little One Li Duo and the hornless dragon Jiang-Ying. But in terms of combat power, she could already be compared with Red, Ah-Man, and Ika, who had been fighting for a long time. You guys step back, no one is allowed to steal the kill. Let me fight first. None of you are allowed to act shamelessly, otherwise I will tell my master. The Reaper Mantis sister learned this trick from Hui Tai Lang. Fortunately, Hui Tai Lang did not follow this trial. Otherwise, in the future, this little girl could learn shameless tactics from Hui Tai Lang. Hurry up, I'm a little impatient. Red looked at her hand in confusion, as if wondering how she lost. A man was honest and easy to talk to. Ika usually had a good relationship with the future, so she also stepped aside. Only the spirit of chaos was a little reluctant and floated back a little with difficulty. It was not that the evil eye monkey had a mocking face, but he had a preference for God's stone. He used God's stone to make a lot of jewelry and hung it on his body, shining, making him look like a giant firefly. Although the spirit of chaos had evolved countless times, after all, her wisdom was not as good as Red and Ah-Man. Moreover, she had an innate weakness for the gemstone crystals that contained huge energy. Because she had been scolded by Yu Yang many times, even if she saw the gemstone now, she would not want to swallow it immediately. She began to have some control and was able to make a difficult choice. Although the evil eye monkey, the long-tongued lizard, and the slug were arrogant, they were not fools. For these seemingly weak women in front of them, they also knew that they were not to be trifled with. The leader and the one with the horn may be a little stronger. Forget about the two who haven't grown up, but that fire girl is worth paying attention to. The evil eye monkey and the others also made an evaluation. What was surprising was that the three of them all thought that the spirit of chaos was the strongest, followed by Red and Ah-Man. As for Ika and the future, they did not think that they would be their opponents. I like the one with the horn. Her face has to be heroic, a little wild, and her body is super hot. Her waist is slender and her legs are long. It must be fun to play with her. The long-tongued lizard whispered to his companions, and reserved Ah-Man, who had now evolved into a super beauty after countless reconstructions. She is good, but I prefer the female leader who is as arrogant as a queen. If she holds a whip. No, just thinking about it makes me have a nosebleed. The slug was obviously more inclined to Red, who was born as a bloody queen. His point of view was affirmed by the evil eye monkey. Looking at Red, the evil eye monkey swallowed his saliva with difficulty, and his huge eyes were shining. I'll leave the others to you, I want this girl. Why? The slug snorted coldly. I'm the first one, she belongs to me. After I'm done playing with her, I'll give her to you. The evil eye monkey expressed that he was willing to be the first one to fight. Get lost, I don't need you to fight. The two little ones are all yours, this one is mine. Don't quarrel, I'll give you another 100 beauties as compensation, and the virgin fox girl you wanted last time. Whatever you want, I'll give it all to you, but this woman must belong to me. The slug stated his conditions, willing to pay any price. The two of them were in a stalemate for a while. Neither of them gave in. They almost fought. After the long-tongued lizard's persuasion, the two of them decided to temporarily put aside the captive and slowly negotiate. While they were daydreaming, the Reaper Mantis sister, the future, had already done enough warm-up exercises and arranged the overall situation according to Yu Yang's usual requirements. She couldn't wait to start the battle. Bang! When the evil eye monkey jumped out, before he could introduce himself, the Reaper Mantis sister had already punched him in the eye, causing him to see stars. Chapter 1154. As soon as the evil eye monkey appeared, he was beaten up. Moreover, it was his most beautiful eyes that he could not tolerate being hurt, so he was even more furious. Faster than lightning, the evil eye monkey counterattacked. His fists were like a storm, bombarding the body of the Reaper Mantis sister. At this moment all the beauties were fake. As long as he was angered, not to mention a woman, even a country would be destroyed by his fists. Boom! To the evil eye monkey's disbelief, the fist that he swung out was caught by the seemingly weak little girl. He was actually caught by this seemingly weak little girl in front of him. Then, it was the right fist which was also caught. Then, it was the right fist which was also caught. After his left fist was caught, the evil eye monkey's first reaction was to use his right fist to attack with all his strength. He did not realize why he was caught. Even when his right fist was also caught, before his brain could think, he lifted his leg and gave a fierce flying kick. The long-tongued lizard and the slug were secretly discussing how to distribute the captured women. They did not notice that the evil eye monkey was beaten as soon as he appeared, and his hands were caught. The evil eye monkey's leg kicked the afterimage of the Reaper Mantis sister heavily. The smirk on his face was still blooming. She used the enemy's arms as a pole, turned over, and her long legs were like spears, heavily piercing the evil eye monkey's face. The evil eye monkey felt pain in his heart and lungs, as if two giant hammers had hit his face. Blood flew out of his mouth. Several broken teeth splashed to the ground. But his arms were still in the grasp of the Reaper Mantis sister. She used her legs to counterattack the evil eye monkey's face, turned around, and used the mysterious 3 moves that Yu Yang taught her. She used the skillful force of pulling 1,000 kilograms to make the evil eye monkey, who was bleeding from his mouth and nose, fall hard on the ceiling of the inner passage of the suspending sky carrier. Boom! The long-tongued lizard and the slug heard the sound and looked up. They found that the evil eye monkey fell from the ceiling involuntarily, kicked by the weak little girl in the air, and flew 10 meters away, falling heavily on a cabin door. The cabin door was shattered. The evil eye monkey smashed into the cabin like a cannonball. Seeing all this, the long-tongued lizard rubbed his eyes and asked the slug, "Am I seeing things?" "Illusion, this must be an illusion." The slug couldn't believe that the demon-eyed monkey, one of the 5 sense generals, would be beaten senseless by an unknown little girl. It was impossible. After a long time, a bloody hand appeared on the edge of the cabin door. It was the evil-eyed monkey that had been beaten by Future to the point of vomiting blood. His malevolent face appeared and his veins popped out. His eyeballs, which were 3 times the size of an ordinary person's, bulged out of his cheek. Because of his anger, they were bloodshot and filled with hatred. When the evil eye monkey opened its mouth and cursed, a few pieces of blood dripped down and fell to the ground. In front of the long-tongued lizard and the slug's incredulous expressions, the broken teeth that were stained with blood were particularly eye-catching. The long-tongued lizard still didn't quite believe it and asked tentatively, "Are you hurt?" The evil-eyed monkey cursed loudly. Foul language. The Reaper Mantis sister frowned and drew a few rune patterns in the void. The runes interweaved to form a formation. Resplendent, sparkling specks of silver light flickered between her 10 fingers. She reached out and touched the evil-eyed monkey's mouth. The evil-eyed monkey opened his mouth, but found that he couldn't make a sound, just like a mute. He reached out and dug in his mouth, but the mouth that was sealed by the heaven rune diagram's silence was not something that could be removed by external force. The evil-eyed monkey, who had lost his voice and couldn't even curse, was even angrier at this time. It was even more violent than an erupting volcano that was forcibly sealed by an external force. He used all his strength and pounced on the Reaper Mantis. This attack, it gathered the greatest power of his divine general. In the past, all the opponents weaker than the evil-eyed monkey had failed under this attack. No one could escape. However, the little lass in the future did not panic at all. She slid backwards, her domain power and supreme willpower exploding out. The evil-eye monkey seemed to be in an invisible and extremely powerful force field. The speed at which it pounced at was getting slower and slower. When it was still 3 meters away from the future, the lightning-fast monkey turned into a tortoise, advancing inch by inch as it charged towards the slowly retreating future. The evil-eyed monkey had already used all his strength, but the invisible force field seemed to have countless chains that were binding and pulling his body, making it hard for him to move an inch. In the sky, a golden Reaper Mantis statue flashed. It glared angrily. The golden scythes stretched out and caught the evil-eyed monkey's pouncing body with irresistible power. The evil-eyed monkey struggled desperately, but it was useless. This kind of capture was not something that could be broken free with strength. This was the capture of the future Supreme Will combined with her gifted skills and domain characteristics. Even a giant dragon couldn't break free. The golden Reaper Mantis statue not only caught the evil-eyed monkey, but also ate the giant dragon. It lowered its head and bit. The evil-eyed monkey's skull was bitten off. Its eyeballs exploded and brain juice splattered everywhere. But it didn't die. It was still struggling desperately. At the same time, because its mouth was sealed by the silence rune, the pain couldn't be vented through roars and cries. It accumulated in the evil-eyed monkey's chest, suffocating it until it exploded. Of course, the evil-eyed monkey, who had taboo power and beast characteristics, wouldn't die so easily. A large amount of black smoke appeared on its head. Other than the parts of its body that were caught by the Reaper Mantis statue's scythes, the rest of its body was mixed with the black smoke. A pair of blood-red eyes protruded from the black smoke, shining with a demonic light. It stared at the Reaper Mantis sister's eyes, piercing deep into her heart. This was the evil-eyed monkey's ultimate move. Evil Eye Explosion. Under the stare of this evil eye explosion, any living being would destroy themselves because of their killing heart. The greater the killing heart, the faster they would be destroyed, and the more painful their death would be. The evil-eyed monkey rarely used this move against its enemies. It wasn't that this move wasn't powerful enough. On the contrary, this ultimate move was too powerful. The evil-eyed monkey didn't want its ultimate move to be recognized and broken by its enemies because it was used too often. This had always been the evil-eyed monkey's secret weapon. Unless it was the most crucial moment, the evil-eyed monkey wouldn't use it. Although the evil-eyed monkey's life wasn't in danger now, it was too aggrieved. Without hesitation, it used its ultimate move on the Reaper Mantis sister, Evil Eye Explosion. Regardless of whether the long-tongued lizard, the slug or the enemy would be able to recognize and break this ultimate move, it couldn't care less. The evil-eyed monkey now only wanted to kill this despicable little girl in front of it immediately. It didn't want to let her live for even a second. Killing heart. Everyone had it, the only difference was the size. Generally, combat-type warriors had a very strong killing heart. If they were too kind and couldn't punch the enemy, how could they go on the battlefield? Therefore, the evil-eyed monkey never worried that its evil eye explosion would fail. On the contrary, it was almost invincible. Other than gods or people with immortal bodies, any other life form that was hit by this ultimate move would definitely die. Die, 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 start from your eyes, swell up and explode. Even your body will explode at the same time under your crazily expanding killing heart. Although its mouth was sealed by silence and it couldn't make any sound, the evil-eyed monkey that was gradually returning to its original form in the black fog couldn't help but feel proud and crazy. In this world, what could be more satisfying than seeing an enemy that you hated to the bone die tragically in front of you? Seeing the evil-eyed monkey use his ultimate move, the long-tongued lizard and the slug looked at each other and smiled. It was over. Once this move was used, no one would be spared. No matter how strong or how weak the enemy was, they couldn't resist it. This was because the enemy wasn't killed by external forces, but by their own infinitely expanding killing heart. In other words, they were committing suicide. No one could stop it, and no external forces could stop it. Heart as still as water. The Reaper Mantis sister closed her eyes, her hands forming the rune seals that Yu Yang had personally taught her. She exhaled softly. From her exhalation, a blood-red skull with a demonic eye was spat out. After the demon eye skull was spat out into the air, it opened its mouth and swallowed wildly, trying to drill back into the Reaper Mantis sister's body. But that was impossible. In the future, she stretched out a fair hand towards the demon eye skull. With a light tap, The golden light of the sky god fixed the demon eye skull that was originally in a state of nothingness. In the sky, the outer Reaper Mantis was like a guardian deity that could not tolerate its descendants being harmed by the enemy. It angrily stretched out its giant scythe and caught the demon eye skull. Opening its giant mouth, it directly bit the demon eye skull into pieces, chewed and swallowed it. Boom! The evil-eyed monkey's body made a loud noise. It didn't come from his mouth that was sealed by silence, but from the inside of his chest. At the location of his heart, a huge black heart, along with some lungs and broken ribs, directly burst through his chest and fell to the ground. The evil-eyed monkey, who was in extreme pain, still wanted to reach out and pick it up. The black heart on the ground was still beating and hadn't lost its function. On top of the black heart, there was a strange black smoke, protecting the heart. Just as the evil-eyed monkey was about to pick up the heart, a foot stepped heavily on it, directly trampling the black heart into meat paste. The foot stomped down heavily, causing the entire pelican to shake uncontrollably. The power could even flatten a mountain. Not to mention a black heart. At the moment when the evil-eyed monkey was in even more pain, a hand reached out and grabbed his collar. Then, he heard an angry voice. "Overconfident guy, look at my eyes." He subconsciously looked up. The evil-eyed monkey found that there was a woman with horns on her head, staring at him with abnormal anger. There seemed to be something flashing through his mind world. His soul hurt. His consciousness disappeared in an instant. The evil-eyed monkey fell to the ground softly. His soul was instantly killed by Ahman's, Doom's gaze, leaving only the immortal body supported by the forbidden power to survive. His body didn't die like other lives after Doom's gaze. His body was still alive. The forbidden power and the fusion of war beasts did indeed give him a near-immortal body, but there was only a piece of flesh left, no doubt dead. What's going on? The long-tongued lizard felt inexplicable. How did the evil-eyed monkey, who had always killed his enemies with his eyes, die? And die under someone else's gaze? What the hell was going on? That girl with horns is also good at using her eyes, it must be like that. The slug cried out in fear. It was also the first time he saw the evil-eyed monkey, who had the strongest eye power, being stared to death by someone else's eyes. Other than using her eyes, she can also use sound waves. A voice quietly rang in the ears of the long-tongued lizard and the slug. There was no time to look back to see who it was. There was no time to escape. The ears of the long-tongued lizard and the slug burst into pieces. They heard a shrill banshee scream that could shatter their souls. Chapter 1155. Poison Maggot was running for his life. Originally, with his immortal body and the combat power of thousands of bloodthirsty maggots, even if the enemy was slightly stronger than him, he couldn't do anything to him. However, this time, Poison Maggot was unlucky. He had to face the Golden Beast, the Star Scorpion, the Tao Tai, and the Heaven-Swallowing Beast. Needless to say, the Golden Beast was the one and only heaven-reaching beast in the world. It was only a baby now, but when it grew up, it would definitely be a heaven-reaching beast that looked down on thousands of creatures in the world. Poison Maggot had no hope of defeating it in this lifetime. If it was just this little thing, it would be fine. After all, it was still young. However, the Tao Tai, which had been repeatedly refined and cultivated by Yu Yang, was a super-powerful Earth divine weapon. Its power could devour heaven and earth, and it was unparalleled. The Star Scorpion was also an Earth divine weapon, an existence that was on par with the Tao Tai. Perhaps it was slightly inferior to the Tao Tai in some aspects, but in terms of toxicity, runes, and killing, it was far superior. Whoever dared to underestimate it was equivalent to having one foot in the coffin. Among their group of troublemakers, only the newly born heaven-swallowing beast was slightly inferior. Of course, Poison Maggot didn't think so. All his attacks were swallowed by the heaven-swallowing beast, as if this little thing's mouth, throat, and chest were made of God-destroying secret gold and would never be damaged. Poison Maggot would never know that the reason why the heaven-swallowing beast could swallow the energy of his attacks and ignore all attacks was because it was the sheath of the Hell Tiger divine sword. Even a divine sword couldn't hurt it. How could a few waves of energy attacks damage its body? Fortunately, there were enough bloodthirsty and mutated maggot. Fan came to the rescue without fear of death, attracting the attention of the Tao Tai and the others. Otherwise, it would really be a little difficult for Poison Maggot to escape. When Poison Maggot escaped to the exit of the sky suspending mothership in a sorry state, there were a few acquaintances standing opposite. One of them was his sworn enemy, the Whistling Teeth Rat. Poison Maggot, who usually thought of himself as the boss of the 5 villains, had always maintained a state of hatred towards the boss of the 5 organs, the Whistling Teeth Rat, and always wanted to hit him when he was down. The Whistling Teeth Rats hated the venomous maggots to the bone and had been looking for an opportunity to scheme against them. Apart from the Whistling Teeth Rat, there were also the Flying Corpses, who were also part of the 5 great villains but had no respect for the venomous maggot. A little further away were the faintly discernible Nether Flames and the transparent, silent Spectre. Due to the special nature of their bodies, nothing unusual could be seen. The Flying Corpses were not a big problem, only their clothes were slightly dirty, but the rats looked like they had crawled out of a pile of corpses on a battlefield. How pathetic! Haha, what did I see? You're just a rat that fell into a cesspool. The poisonous maggot couldn't help but mock. A certain disgusting worm isn't much better than me. Do you think that just because you've eaten your fill in the cesspool, you can talk dirty? In any case, I, the whistle-toothed rat, at least helped my companion, unlike a certain fat worm who ran away the moment he saw a strong enemy. To think that the fat worm thought he was the boss! The whistle-toothed rat retorted without holding back. In truth, the whistle-toothed rat did not extend its hand to help the big-eared bat. After witnessing Yu Yang's super-powerful strength, he was shocked. His first choice was to run away. However, no one saw it, so no one could accuse him of abandoning his companion and running away. On the other hand, the poisonous maggot was deeply resented by the Flying Corpses, Nether Flame, and the Ghost. They felt that this so-called boss had no sense of loyalty. Not only did he avoid a fight when he encountered a strong enemy, he even used the mutant maggots to block the way and framed his companion. The poisonous maggot's expression changed after hearing this. He felt that he had been wronged. He did not know that Hungry Ghost would be defeated at first. He was just greedy. He used corpses to cultivate the mutant maggot. Later, when the Flying Corpses, Nether Flame, and the Ghost escaped, he did not want to use the mutant maggots to block the way at all, but out of habit, he sent them out to search for the enemy. Who knew that such a strong enemy would suddenly appear in the Pelican? The mutant maggots went from a meritorious act of searching for survivors in the Pelican to a stupid trick of framing his companion. Although it was a failure, it was really unintentional. This was just self-defeating. There's no need to explain. We believe what we see with our own eyes. The Flying Corpse snorted coldly. If not for the fact that the situation was unclear, he would have fallen out with the poisonous maggot. Boss Poisonous Maggot is really bold. Nether Flame had never called the poisonous maggot boss. She said it this way. It was sarcasm. The more she smiled, the greater the anger in her heart. The poisonous maggot let out a long sigh. I know it's useless to say anything, but I really didn't mean it. The situation is not very good now. We have to join forces to resist the enemy. I hope you can put aside your prejudices for now and finish this battle first. Nether Flame's faintly discernible face showed a hint of mockery. Of course, with your scheming and strength, we can't not call you boss and follow your lead. The Flying Corpse laughed heartily and clapped his hands. Agreed. The Ghost did not speak. He also did not express his stance. However, The person that the poisonous maggot felt would be the most unlikely to forgive him was the most taciturn and most powerful ghost. The whistle-toothed rat had already scared the guts out of Yu Yang. In addition, he had just entered the ship and secretly discovered that the long-tongued lizard and the slug were in a bitter battle, so he quickly retreated. Now the whistle-toothed rat was only waiting for one person, and that was his superior, the Right Marshal of the West God Nation, Wan Xie. If even Lord Wan Xie could not fight against those strong enemies that appeared out of nowhere, then he would definitely not stay any longer. This was a land of death. Big-eared Bat was finished, and the Evil Eye Monkey was also dead. Of the 5 sense generals, 2 were gone. How could they fight this battle? Not to mention that the flying corpse had just said that the hungry ghost of the 5 great evildoers was also dead, which made people's hearts turn cold. Ha 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 ha. A burst of heroic laughter rang out from the ship, reverberating for a long time. Those who were familiar with this laughter knew that it was the laughter of the Right Marshal of the West God Nation, Wan Xie. The infamous Wan Xie, who killed people like scything flax and was crazily bloodthirsty, but it did not mean that he was a maniac like a man-eating demon on the surface. On the contrary, Wan Xie was a handsome man. In the West God Nation, he was famous for his good looks. He had been famous for thousands of years, and now he was a little more mature, but his handsome and heroic appearance did not diminish. In fact, there was a kind of wisdom and stability that came from years of experience. Every time Wan Xie laughed, it was when he was the most furious and wanted to kill people. The happier he laughed, the more people he would kill. The sentinel rat was his subordinate. He knew this notorious boss of his very well. What was the reason that made Lord Wan Xie laugh so happily? Could it be that Lord Wan Xie met that unfathomable young man? Brother Wind-Ear, long time no see. I wanted to meet you, but I didn't expect that we would be so fated today. Ha ha ha, as the saying goes, a chance encounter is better than an invitation. Why don't we sit down and have a good drink? The sentinel rat heard such a voice coming from the ship's passageway. Since Brother Wan Xie has the heart to invite me, if Wind-Ear refuses, it would be too disrespectful. I also hope to have a drinking contest with Brother Wan Xie, and not go home until I'm drunk. But I have an errand to do, so I invited Gannet here to pick up a few old friends. The task given to me by my superior has not been completed, so how would Wind-Ear dare to be greedy? So, please forgive me. Another gentle and refined voice rang out, politely rejecting Wan Xie. Following that, a white-robed middle-aged man and a green-robed man walked out side by side. The white-robed middle-aged man on the left was the sentinel rat's immediate superior, the Right Marshal of the West God Nation, Wan Xie. As for the green-robed man on the right, the sentinel rat and the others also knew him. This was the East God Nation's 1,000-mile ear, Marshal Wind-Ear. This Marshal Wind-Ear was not weaker than either Wan Xie or Ancient Bones. In fact, he was slightly stronger. If Wan Xie and Ancient Bones joined forces, they would naturally be able to suppress Wind-Ear. But now it was just Wan Xie alone. How could he defeat this Marshal of the East God Nation, who was said to be able to hear the whispers of others? A few dozen meters behind, 3 men covered in wounds and dripping with blood walked out, supporting each other. It was the winged tiger, wind demon, and flamingo that Wan Xie had gone to kill. Unexpectedly, they had been saved by Wind-Ear. They had not been killed. Wan Xie did not even look at Winged Tiger and the others. It was as though he was not the one who had beaten them to the brink of death. Instead, he bade farewell to Marshal Wind-Ear, chuckling. In that case, let us set a time to meet again. We will drink to our heart's content and not rest until we're drunk. The sentinel rat knew what Lord Wan Xie meant. Since the plan had changed, and the East God Nation had interfered, then they would temporarily abandon the pelican and the plan. Sir, we... The sentinel rat now understood a little. That unfathomable young man was a member of the East God Nation Deicide's tribe. No wonder his aura and demeanor were so unique. The 5 cents generals had lost the big-eared bat, and then the devil-eye monkey. Even the long-tongued lizard and the slug were in danger. As the leader of the 5 cents generals, the sentinel rat had no choice but to bite the bullet and report to his immediate superior. Is that so? Hearing Wan Xie, the sentinel rat's secret message, his face did not change. He continued to smile. He maintained his gentlemanly demeanor. He did not express anything about the long-tongued lizard and the slug being in danger. The sentinel rat was at a loss. He could only bear it for the time being. Anyway, the ones in danger were not him. If he killed them, he would not have the competition from before. Wan Xie did not even look at the flying corpse, earthly flame, and spectre. It was as if the three of them did not exist. He bid farewell to the green-robed wind ear and floated away. The sentinel rat hurried to follow. Even the flying corpse, earthly flame, and spectre hurried to follow Wan Xie when they saw wind ear appear. They walked for a long distance before going their separate ways. Wind ear looked at Wan Xie's back with a complicated expression. He shook his head and sighed. This battle will not happen. Even if that young man did not appear, it will not happen. The West God Lord Blackday is too careful. But where did that young man come from? It is impossible for Akagi to cultivate a young man like him, and our Lord Deicide does not have such a clansman. It has been a long time since such an outstanding young man appeared in the outer mountains. Could he be from the human valley? Why is there no news at all? Marshal Windear, are you taking us to the East God Nation? Winged Tiger searched for traces of his companions. He did not dare to speak of other companions, but with Raven and Pelican working together, one cautious and meticulous, the other brave and decisive, it was unlikely that anything would happen. No, I am not interested in you. Marshal Wind Ear smiled slightly. I was really just passing by. I did not know the situation beforehand, but seeing the situation deteriorate, I could not sit back and watch the West God realm smear black ashes on our East God nation. Oh right, who is that young man to you? Forget it, I will not ask. Everyone has the right to keep their secret. Although I am curious, I will not force you. Whether it was Winged Tiger, Wind Eagle, or Flamingo, they could not help but heave a sigh of relief. They were most afraid that Wind Ear would be interested in Titan U. The East God Nation's conditions. If they wanted to entice Titan U to join them, it was almost a done deal. Luckily, this gentlemanly East Field Marshal had given up on trying to rope him in. In the distance, there was an earth-shattering roar. A streak of golden light shot through the air like a meteor. As the golden light soared through the sky, it even let out a depressed howl. From the sound, it seemed to be West God Nation's left field marshal, Goo Goo. Goo Goo, who had intercepted Marshal Griffin and the Golden Condor General, had retreated as well? Winged Tiger and the others were overjoyed. The Gannet hijacking plan had indeed failed, but at least they had not been completely wiped out. Especially when Winged Tiger and the others saw Raven and Pelican come out, covered in blood, with the still trembling Spotted Duck and the others. They were so excited that they high-fived and congratulated them. Because of that young man's appearance, the West God Nation's plan had failed. Even the East God Nation, who had not intended to act, had been moved. They had extended a leg, turning what had been an irreversible defeat into an unimaginable draw. East God Nation's Marshal Wind Ear had performed well in this battle. But the one who had truly taken the lead was... Actually, it was that young man who looked like a rookie but was unfathomable. Chapter 1156. The enemy came in a menacing manner, pouncing on them like a tidal wave. But they retreated quickly and left as soon as they said they would. When Goo Goo Goo, the two left and right marshals Wan Xie, as well as the 5 great evildoers Poison Maggot, Flying Corpse, Netherworld Flame, Ghost and the others left, Yu Yang realized that the god, who was hiding in the sky and overlooking the whole situation, had also disappeared without a trace. The departure of the enemy did not mean that the battle was over. On the contrary, this was just the prelude of the enemy's temporary truce, adjustment of strategy, and rallying. The next wave of attack was bound to be fiercer and more fatal. Of course, being able to strike and defeat the enemy head-on was not without some gains. The most powerful of the enemies were the 5 cents generals. 4 out of 5 were gone. In the end, only the 5 cents generals, the whistling rat, the first to escape, survived. The remaining big-eared bat, demon-eyed monkey, long-tongued lizard, and slug were either killed or captured. If the hungry ghost that Yu Yang had killed before was added, then the West God Nation had lost a total of 5 God General-level experts in this battle. If the accident, that was Yu Yang, had not appeared, the Southeast God Nation had lost more than tens of thousands of soldiers and civilians. Perhaps the Griffin Marshal, the Golden Eagle General, Maupati, and the others would not have been spared either. As for the space pirates that had been manipulated by the West God Nation, they would not be able to escape the tragic fate of being pawns. At the end of the battle, Winged Tiger, Wind Eagle, and Flamingo only had one breath left to hang on. As soon as Ancient Skeleton and 10,000 Evil retreated, they immediately fell to the ground, too exhausted to continue. Although the interior of the Gannet had become a bloody slaughterhouse, no one had the best choice. They still returned to find a clean place to rest. In this battle, whether it was the space pirates or the Southeast God Nation, there was no winner. The Southeast Godly Nation had lost tens of thousands of border soldiers and nearly 10,000 merchants. They had almost lost the entire Pelican. As for the Galactic Pirates, except for a few leaders and Spotted Duck and the others who had been saved by Yu Yang, they had all been wiped out. The Griffin Marshal, the Golden Eagle General, Winged Tiger, Wind Eagle, and Fiery Bird sat opposite each other, but none of them had the intention to fight. Everyone knew that the real culprit was the West Godly Nation that had driven the whole battle. "Who are you?" East God Nation Marshal Windseer, who claimed to be passing by, asked Yu Yang what everyone was thinking. "Does it matter who I am?" Yu Yang shrugged casually. "I'm sure that I'm not your enemy. Be it space pirates or the Southeast Divine Kingdom, I'm not your enemy." "Well, none of us would consider you an enemy." Wind Eagle laughed heartily. "We're just curious. If you don't even know Marshal Windseer, that means you're not from the East God Nation. Since you're not a disciple of the Southeast God Lord Akaji, nor a member of the East God Lord Deicide's clan, nor are you a space pirate, then who are you? You're from Human Valley, and you're preparing to borrow the path to Sky Beyond Mountains, right?" The Griffin Marshal made his own guess. "Although not exactly, it's close," Yu Yang admitted. "I came here completely unprepared, and I don't know how to return for now. As for Sky Beyond Mountains, I'd really like to see it, if there's a chance in the future." "In that case, you're the real passerby." East God Nation Marshal Windseer was amused. "You killed Ravenous Ghost in one battle and 4 of the 5 cents generals. You've offended the West God Lord Black Day. What plans do you have next?" The Golden Eagle General actually wanted to invite Yu Yang to join the Southeast God Nation, but the East God Nation Marshal Windseer was also here, and he was embarrassed to say it out loud. Especially since the East God Nation was stronger, and Windseer had helped him. No matter how much he wanted Yu Yang to join, he could not say it directly. "I've offended too many people, and my enemies are as many as the hairs on a cow. I don't care about a few more." Yu Yang deliberately did not catch the Golden Eagle General's meaning. "Although the enemy has retreated, I'm afraid this is not over." The Griffin Marshal hurriedly coughed, changing the subject. In front of East God Nation Marshal Windseer, he could not open his mouth to invite him. He did not want Yu Yang to reject him outright. He dared to say that his old friend Marshal Wind's silence was giving them face. If Yu Yang had rejected the invitation, he would have tried his best to convince the young Titan Yu to join the East God Nation. Compared to the Southeast God Nation, the East God Nation had too many advantages. Not only could they match the West God Nation in power, but the East God Lord Deicide was very similar to Titan Yu. They were probably of the same race. The first few conditions were fine. Later, Deicide and Titan Yu should be of the same race. This was an unparalleled advantage. Fortunately, Titan Yu, a young man with limitless potential, had not directly rejected him, leaving the Southeast God Nation with some theoretical hope. The Griffin Marshal knew very well that the reason Marshal Wind Ear had insisted on staying as a guest, rather than leaving in style, was because he wanted to invite the young Titan Yu. Marshal Wind Ear did not speak now because he did not have enough confidence, and he wanted to save face for everyone else, so he did not take the initiative to speak. Winged Tiger, Wind Eagle, and Fiery Bird no longer hoped that Yu Yang would join them as space pirates, who would give up being the Marshal of the East and Southeast God Nations and run off to be a notorious space pirate leader. The three of them wanted to close the distance between them and Yu Yang. Since they could not be partners, then it should not be a problem to be friends, right? Let's not compete with the East and Southeast God Nations, and just talk about personal feelings, okay? With this kind of thinking, Winged Tiger and the others were undoubtedly standing behind Yu Yang and supporting him as staunch allies. Winged Tiger and Wind Eagle had considered Marshal Griffin's concerns. Winged Tiger pondered for a moment, then frowned and said, "General Five Senses was almost completely wiped out. This is a harsh slap to Black Day's face. I'm afraid that this West God Master will unilaterally tear up the agreement and directly attack. Ancient Bones and 10,000 Evils have already tired us out. If this West God Master attacks, even if we are 10 times stronger, we will not be able to resist. If Black Day dares to attack, my Master Akaji will definitely not sit idly by." Griffin Marshal felt that the possibility of this was not high. After all, Black Day was a God Master. It might be possible to start a war, but it was unlikely that he would directly attack. The possibility of an all-out war is higher. Marshal Wind Ear quietly revealed a secret. It turned out that as early as 10,000 years ago, the powerful West God Nation had an agreement with the East God Nation to divide the mountains beyond mountains equally. Of course, this was all kept secret. It was not built on the level of war. After 10,000 years of bribing and swallowing each other up, the two countries had already established a clear distinction between the two camps in the mountain beyond the mountain. They were the East Camp, led by the East God Nation, with allies from the South God Nation and the Southeast God Nation, and the West Camp, led by the West God Nation, including the West, North, Southwest, and Northwest God Nations. Even the Northeast God Nation, which was the only one not involved for the time being, was a little uncertain and secretly inclined to the West God Nation. If the Northeast God Nation really decided to turn to the West God Nation and join the West Camp, then the West God Lord Black Day, who had 5-3 strength, would definitely declare war and suppress the East God Lord Deicide, who had been suppressing him for 10,000 years, and snatch the throne of the strongest in the mountains beyond mountains. The Gannett incident was just a test. It was a small attempt to test the waters. Next, the West God Nation would probably have more follow-up actions. The loss of soldiers in this battle was only a small setback, and it was not enough to affect the overall situation. On the contrary, it would only intensify the anger of the West God Lord Black Day and catalyze his determination to declare war. The possibility of the God Lord attacking us is indeed small, but after 10,000 years of peace agreement, the peace has come to an end. The War of the 8 God Lords is very likely to break out. At that time, there will be a catastrophe in the mountains beyond mountains and the valley. Collapse and destruction are almost inevitable. The Golden Eagle General did not believe that the God Lord would attack the people of the lower levels. He was more worried that the War of the Gods would destroy the whole world. Maybe Black Day will not attack you, but there is one person you have to be careful. He may be more terrible than Black Day. Yu Yang's heart moved. He felt that Ji Wuri might take the opportunity to mess up the overall situation in the mountains beyond mountains and profit from it. What? The people present were shocked when they heard this. Someone more terrible than the West God Lord Black Day? This person is called Ji Wuri. Yu Yang decided to tell them the situation in advance. Ji Wuri? He's not dead yet? Hearing the name Ji Wuri, everyone's face changed greatly, as if they had heard the most terrible thing in the world. Marshal Feng Er stood up directly and exclaimed, "He appeared? This is not possible. Wasn't he killed by my lord? Where did you see him?" Reception platform. I saw Ji Zhong of the West God Nation leading people to pick him up, and also gave him the identity of a trainee oracle. Yu Yang explained the situation that day in detail. Not good. Griffin Marshall could not sit still. That devil is really not dead, he is back. Ji Wuri has been to the mountains beyond mountains before? Yu Yang was even more shocked in his heart, but he did not show it on his face. It turned out that the confusion in his heart could now be explained. Why could Ji Wuri leave from Human Valley, come to the mountains beyond mountains halfway, and have a loyal servant Ji Zhong greet him? It turned out that he had already been to the 8th stage of the underground valley and the mountains beyond mountains. This Ji Wuri you are talking about, he is actually the nephew of Black Day. Black Day was called Ji Yi before he became a god, and then he took the divine spark of Black Day as his god name. Marshal Feng Er clenched his fists and tried to control his emotions. You don't know, Ji Wuri was the most terrible schemer in the mountains beyond mountains in the past. With his strategy, the West God Nation could grow crazily. The forbidden power of the 5 evildoers and General Wu Guan and the others was created by Ji Wuri. It was him who single-handedly defeated the talents of the entire 8 God Nations. Because of his terror, my Lord Deicide killed him in anger, smashing him into pieces and throwing him out of our world. I didn't expect him to not die and come back. Without him, the West God Nation's development has stagnated. Black Day's ambitions have also been restrained for a long time. I didn't expect him to come back. No wonder Black Day couldn't wait to make a move. It turns out that Ji Wuri is back. The Golden Eagle General's expression was solemn and his brows were tightly furrowed. The expressions of Marshal Feng Er, Marshal Griffin, and the Golden Eagle General were different. Winged Tiger, Wind Eagle, and Fiery Bird, these galactic pirates, were a little puzzled, as if they had never heard of the existence of the name Ji Wuri. They were the sky pirates of the meteorite belt. It was naturally impossible for them to have heard of a secret that only the highest level of the God Nation knew. However, the abnormal expressions of Marshal Feng Er and the others, as well as the words the creator of the forbidden power, made them feel that this unknown Ji Wuri was a powerful and terrifying existence. A man who had completely mastered the forbidden power and could turn anyone into a powerhouse like the 5 evildoers or General Wu Guan at any time. He was Ji Wuri. With him, the West God Nation would have countless of the 5 evildoers and General Wu Guan. Thinking of this, not to mention the galactic pirates like Winged Tiger, even Yu Yang couldn't help but secretly suck in a breath of cold air. Chapter 1157. After receiving the news that Ji Wuri had returned to the outer mountains, Marshal Feng Er and Marshal Griffin could not sit still. They were burning with anxiety and hoped to report to their superiors as soon as possible. Time was of the essence now. Even Lord Gods like Deicide and Akaji had to seize this time to deal with it. Otherwise, if they fell one step behind, they would always fall behind. If Black Day did not have Ji Wuri's help, although his strength and prestige as the Western Lord was close to Eastern Lord Deicide's, he was definitely not the strongest person in the outer mountains. On the contrary, if he had the help of the schemer Ji Wuri, it was very likely that he would gather the forces of the North, Southwest, and Northwest Lord to declare an all-out war. The Northeast Lord God Sharon, who was originally wavering, was also very likely to fall to his side. In any case, Eastern Lord Deicide, Southeastern Lord Akagi, and Southern Lord Tencho, who firmly supported Deicide, had to receive the news in advance and make all preparations to deal with the war that could break out at any time. After agreeing on the location and time for the next meeting, Marshal Feng Er and the others immediately left the meteorite belt. Marshal Griffin, the captain of the Gannet, did not even want the suspending mothership anymore. He gave it to Yu Yang on the spot. First, this suspending mothership no longer had enough crew members. Even if there were, its speed was far from enough to meet Marshal Griffin's needs. Instead of carrying it painfully, it was better to give it to the young man Titan Yu in exchange for a favor. Second, while Marshal Griffin gave away a hot potato, he also had the intention to rope in Yu Yang. Whether they could work together or not, this was temporarily uncertain. At the very least, he wanted to rope in Yu Yang as his ally. The Western Camp, led by the West God Nation, did not know what conditions the West Camp would offer to please this young man in the future. In the previous battle, Ancient Skeleton had promised to give away the Gannet. Marshal Griffin would definitely not let the enemy succeed. He directly gave the Gannet under his command to Yu Yang, directly blocking Ancient Skeleton's mouth and the Western Camp's way to rope in Yu Yang. It's useless even if you give it to me. I don't need it anyway. It would definitely be a lie if Yu Yang said that he did not like the pelican. However, the problem was that this big fellow required a few hundred people to operate. Student Yu Yang, who had come to the outer mountains alone, how could he find a few hundred people? Furthermore, they had to be people who were familiar with piloting the suspending mothership. Most importantly, this thing was a huge target. It was very easy to attract hatred. Yu Yang didn't want Ji Wuri to discover him. Since he knew about Ji Wuri's conspiracy, he had to sneak up on Ji Wuri, right? We will. Pelican jumped out impatiently and said confidently, "The space pirates suffered a setback this time, but it's still easy to find a few hundred people. Although I've never piloted an Empyrean carrier before, it's not difficult at all. I can learn it by touching it." You make it sound so easy. Yu Yang sweated profusely. Piloting an Empyrean carrier was definitely a skill. There might be people who could learn it by touching it, but it would definitely not be Pelican. There is indeed a group of brothers who have received piloting training. However, Raven didn't continue. The space pirates had once received training from the technicians sent by the West God Nation. He had once received training from the technicians secretly sent by the West God Nation. Of course, that was only superficial learning. The people who actually piloted the Pelican were still the people on the original ship. It was just that the galactic pirates had learned a little and would not be fooled by the original crew members on the Pelican. If they really had to pilot it themselves, it would probably be impossible. Furthermore, this time, the space pirates were almost completely wiped out. There were only a dozen or so survivors left, and they were all boorish men like Spotted Duck. If they wanted to successfully pilot the Pelican that had been stranded in the meteorite belt with such a small number of people, it was undoubtedly a fool's dream. However, if they really wanted to give up this Pelican, not to mention Pelican, Raven, and Spotted Duck, even Winged Tiger, Wind Eagle, and Flamingo, who had extremely strong willpower and control, would find it hard to give it up. This was something that the space pirates had exchanged for with the lives of thousands of their brothers. Furthermore, this was a Empyrean carrier. With it, the space pirates could truly be called galactic pirates that could soar in the sky. Marshal Griffin gave the Pelican to Yu Yang. In the eyes of the space pirates, this was no different from giving it to them. This young man, Titan Yu, had a boundless future. After the Gods' War, if the Eastern Camp obtained the final victory, this young man would very likely become a god and become a rising force in the outer mountains. Why would someone like him care about an ordinary Empyrean carrier? For the space pirates to ride the Pelican and follow him was also a good way to whitewash themselves. Who knew, in the end, they might even be able to become marshals or generals. No one wanted to think about things that were too far in the future, but one thing was for sure. Titan, you would definitely have more than one pelican in the future. He would have countless of them, or even a god's kingdom with countless territories, countless people, and countless wealth. Right now, we don't have enough people to pilot it. Let's go back and find some brothers to help us. Also, find some retired veterans on the ship. Winged Tiger and Wind Eagle looked at each other. Seeing that Yu Yang did not mind the space pirates steering the ship for him, they were instantly delighted. In just half a month, we will be able to take care of it. Flamingo was also very excited. Don't forget the agreed time. The last to leave was General Golden Eagle. He passed some of the classified documents on the ship to Yu Yang. Of course, there was also some information that could not be disclosed to the public. It was different from Golden Eagle, Griffin, and Wind Ears. Thunder Beast, Blood Leopard, Raging Bull, Ulna, and Meat Butcher, who had been seriously injured and captured, had not fully recovered after being rescued from their cells. Furthermore, they did not have enough strength to return to the ground through the long meteorite belt. They did not have the strength of Golden Eagle and Griffin. Living and even fighting for a short period of time was not a problem, but it was not very possible for them to leave the meteorite belt and return to the ground smoothly. Heavily injured, they rejected Winged Tiger's persuasion to reconcile and chose to use the lifeboat. They insisted on leaving. Before leaving, Thunder Beast and Blood Leopard also represented their survivors and expressed a small thank you to Yu Yang. Although it was not Yu Yang who had saved them personally. However, Yu Yang had personally killed Hungry Ghost, Big-Eared Bat, and also eliminated the evil-eyed monkey, long-tongued lizard, slug, and tens of thousands of mutant maggot men with unknown methods. Finally, he had appeared on the battlefield and scared away the infamous ancient skeleton and 10,000 evil, indirectly saving Griffin Marshal and Golden Eagle General, and indirectly saving Thunder Beast and the others who had been seriously injured and captured. Therefore, it was understandable for them to express their gratitude to Yu Yang. Let's meet on the battlefield. Thunder Beast had a lot of resentment towards Raven and the other galactic pirate. However, he now understood the situation. The real enemy was the West God Nation, who was manipulating everything behind the scenes. The galactic pirates were just some pitiful pawns. I don't dare to say anything above the God Champion level, but the God Servants and God Servants of the West Camp elites, I really want to compete with you in the number of enemies killed. Raven issued a challenge. I'll accompany you to the end. Blood Leopard suppressed his anger and replied. The survivors boarded 2 small lifeboats. They flew out of the Gannet and shot straight to the ground. Winged Tiger, Wind Eagle, and Fiery Bird, the 3 leaders, left one after another. They hoped to hire enough retired veterans with a large sum of money so that the Gannet could move again and become a battleship that could be used by them. Raven and Pelican did not have the strength they had, so they could only leave on a medium-sized lifeboat. The speed of a medium-sized lifeboat was much slower than a small-sized lifeboat, but the capacity and number of seats inside were close to 100 times greater. Raven and Pelican needed to bring more galactic pirates with them. They could not leave as easily as Thunder Beast and the others. Other than Spotted Duck and the other galactic pirates who were originally with Yu Yang, Grasshopper had also volunteered to stay. Even Yu Yang could not understand his reaction. Didn't Grasshopper hate him? Furthermore, he was obviously a smart person who was afraid of death. Instead of leaving when he had the chance, he chose to stay on the Gannet. This was too strange. I have nowhere to go now. I will leave when we reach the agreed location and meet up with Lord. That was Grasshopper's excuse on the surface. Actually, as a smart person, he knew that there was probably no safe haven in the outer mountains. A war of gods was about to break out. Staying at the foot of the outer mountains might be a dead end. Although staying on the Gannet seemed dangerous, it was actually very safe. Not to mention the Divine Master, at the very least, Ancient Bones and 10,000 Evil, those kind of powerful people, couldn't do anything to you, Titan. The 5 great evildoers and General Wu Guan had even been slaughtered by him. Therefore, no matter what, staying here was the safest. Up to you. Yu Yang had just taken over the Gannet and was too busy to bother with him. Taking over the Gannet hovering mothership. Yu Yang did not do anything. He returned to the Grimoire world immediately and carefully studied the top-secret information given to him by the Golden Eagle General with Yu Yu, Princess Sisai, and the others. After spending half a day digesting and organizing the information, Yu Yang finally had some idea about the structure of the hovering mothership. No matter how big or small the hovering mothership was, it was made in the God-destroying secret realm. Moreover, not everyone had the qualifications and ability to make it. It was invented by the 2 fallen great gods, Taiyan and Bingli. They used the God-destroying secret gold, a special material that had existed since ancient times, to guide it with divine power and divine telekinesis, to form the shape of the hovering mothership. Back then, the 2 great gods, Taiyan and Bingli, only designed and developed the hovering mothership. Therefore, the 8 master gods who inherited their legacy could only use their divine power to make the hovering mothership. They could not make anything else. In the past 10,000 years, whether it was Black Day or Deicide, they had tried thousands and thousands of new research methods, but none of them succeeded. From this, it could be seen how outstanding the great wisdom of Taiyan and Bingli was. The power of divine power and divine telekinesis were different, so the sizes of the hovering motherships that the 8 master gods created were also different. Deicide and Black Day were the most powerful. They could create super-large hovering mothership. For example, the West God Nation had a 10-kilometer-long dragon hawk, and the East God Nation had a similarly huge Kuan Pung. As for the Southeast God Nation and the other God Nations, they only had hovering motherships the size of pelicans. If that's the case, why don't we create another super-large hovering mothership as our future ride? Sickly Beauty was most interested in this kind of research. Not only do we want to build the biggest hovering mothership, but we also want to build other things, such as weapons, armor, war dolls, castles. In short, we can make use of everything. Princess Sisai had a good impression of the God-destroying secret gold, which contained the power of the precept and could weaken the enemy's attack by 100 times. That's a good idea, but it's just an idea. Yu Yang was not too optimistic. Haven't you already created the armor? Princess Sisai snorted. I can, but the efficiency is too low. Yu Yang complained, pouring out his grievances. Creating a few armors and a few battle dolls has already exhausted me to the point of exhaustion. Hunyo, you still want to build a castle? Why don't you just kill me? Think about it, if the hovering mothership was so easy to build, why did the 8 god nations only have so few hovering motherships after tens of thousands of years? Who doesn't want to build more? The reason is that it's not easy to build them. Even those so-called gods would have to put in a lot of effort to build a hovering mothership. I don't care, you can think of a way. I just want the castle. Princess Qian Qian was very reasonable when she was reasonable, but when she became savage, she was a tigress who didn't care about anything. Girl, being a tsundere is a disease, you have to cure it. Before Yu Yang could finish, he was sent flying by Princess Sisai with a punch. Since the God-Destroyer Mysterious Gold can be used to build the hovering mothership, it can definitely be used to build other things. Moreover, we have already succeeded in this. What we need now is to find the best way to guide it. I feel that there must be a secret behind it. The 2 great gods, Taiyan and Bingli, can't come up with such a stupid method. Yu Yu held her cheeks and started to think. She had always been Yu Yang's right-hand man. No matter what problem it was, she wanted to share the burden of her precious brother. Impatience looked at the God-Destroyer Mysterious Gold for a long time and suddenly put it down, attracting everyone's attention. They thought that she had discovered a big secret. who knew that this queen of sky law stretched her body seductively. She was so sexy that she was mesmerizing. "I'm sleepy. I'm going back to have a beauty sleep. You guys take your time to research. I'll support you guys in spirit. Oh, right, if we manage to research a castle, I want to reserve one." Hearing this, everyone fell to the ground. "You're too comfortable being the Queen of Skylaw. No one is as smart as you." Impatience slipped back to sleep without any sense of loyalty, which greatly affected everyone's morale. After half a night of research, they found nothing, so they decided to go back to rest. In the end, even the most energetic Princess Sisai yawned in boredom and decided to put it aside for the time being. Tomorrow, after a good night's sleep, she would decide whether to help Yu Yang research this god-destroyer mysterious gold that had not yielded any good results for thousands of years. Sickly Beauty was persuaded by Yu Yang to go back to rest, leaving only Yu alone. After cleaning up the mess in the house, she quietly stayed behind. She sat next to Yu Yang and comforted him softly. "Little San, actually, we've already succeeded. It's just that we haven't found the best way yet. The God-Destroyer mysterious gold is a special material. It should be something created by the ancient great god. For this kind of thing, we can't deal with it with common sense. Maybe it doesn't need to be so troublesome to research, because the gods can do it with just a thought. If you are also a god, then you can do it with just a thought. You can create whatever you want without any external force." At first, Yu Yang didn't care. But the more he listened, the more he felt a flash of inspiration in his mind. Especially the last unconscious comfort of Yu made him feel as if he was struck by lightning. A kind of enlightened light of wisdom exploded in his mind. He was so excited that he forgot everything and jumped up. He hugged Yu tightly and kissed her fiercely. He didn't even get enough and kissed her a few more times before finally letting go of the dumbstruck Yu. He happily held the God-Destroyer mysterious gold that had been placed in front of him for the whole night. He activated his talent, raised the world creation domain, enhanced the supreme will, and condensed the super-strong divine power that had long surpassed the ordinary god realm to wrap the God-Destroyer mysterious gold in his hands. It wasn't a forced change, but a natural guidance. Moreover, it was completely different from the previous armors and war dolls he made. Yu Yang was now purely guided by his divine sense. After a thought, a dazzling and strange light burst out from Yu Yang's hands. Its brightness was like the blazing sun, and also like the beginning of the universe when the universe exploded. Chapter 1158. When Princess Sisai and the others heard the news and rushed over, Yu Yang was already holding a strangely shaped sword in his hand. The sword was transparent and soft like silk. It was 1 meter long and 2 fingers wide. It was narrow and shallow, as thin as paper and as clear as jade. This treasured sword was made by Yu Yang in an inconceivable or even impossible way. No matter who saw it, they would not be able to imagine that it was actually made from the god-destroying secret gold that even gods would find hard to chew. Previously, when Yu Yang used the god-destroyer mysterious gold to make armors, no matter how much effort he put in, he could only make those kind of clumsy, heavy armors. They were dark purple and thick, heavy and hard. Although their defense was heaven-defying, Phoenix Fairy Beauty and the others did not like them at all. Who would have thought that the same type of god-vanquishing secret gold, made by the same person using a different method, could have such an earth-shattering change in its form? Not to mention others, even Yu Yang himself was holding the sword in his hand in a daze. For a long time, he still could not accept the fact that he had made it with his own hand. It was not that he was dissatisfied, but he was too surprised that he felt like he was in a dream. He did not dare to easily believe that the truth was so blissful. Done with a thought? So that's how the gods created it. It can really be done like this. Impatience, who was wearing a nightgown and holding a pair of huge weapons that almost killed everyone, muttered to herself absent-mindedly. So that's how it is. The God-destroying secret gold can't be forcefully changed by external forces. That's right, it contains the will of the ancient gods. Any action that goes against the power of the law is equivalent to going against the heavens. On the contrary, we can use our divine sense to guide it, then we can get twice the result with half the effort. Sister Yu, wow, you're really a big lucky star, you've once again enlightened this idiot. If it wasn't for you, this guy would probably be so tired that he would find a place with no one around and cry secretly. Princess Sisai suddenly realized and praised Yu Yu for inadvertently enlightening Yu Yang. It has nothing to do with me, I'm just saying casually. Yu Yu's heart was as sweet as honey, but she didn't want to take the credit. She felt that no matter what help she gave her brother, it was what she should do. It depends on who you're talking about. I can't do it. Inan stuck out her tongue cutely, making everyone laugh. The secret gold of God Destroyer can turn into a transparent jade sword. Then, can it have an even greater change? Fallen Beauty raised a question. Definitely. The one who always believed in her brother unconditionally was, of course, Yu Bing. In her heart, her brother was omnipotent. Moreover, the God-extinguishing secret gold was placed in front of everyone after being guided by the divine thought. Since it could transform like this, then it was definitely possible to transform into other forms and existences. Everything depended on the guidance of Yu Yang's divine will. The God-vanquishing secret gold that no one had been able to conquer for 10,000 years seemed to have unlimited possibilities. It was just that no one knew how to guide this kind of ancient treasure. Only divine will could guide and change it. Why was it that the 8 gods of Mountain Beyond Mountain could only make the suspending sky mothership for 10,000 years and couldn't make anything else? How did Yu Yang do it? Everyone was very curious. They all looked at him, waiting to see how he would explain it. Divine will was necessary, but there was an even more important reason. Otherwise, Mountain Beyond Mountain wouldn't only have the suspending sky mothership, a super weapon. Yu Yang was very proud now. Although it was unintentionally inspired by Yu Yu before this, his own comprehension couldn't be low. Seeing everyone's eager eyes, he proudly took a few square steps with his hands behind his back, like an old scholar who had finally passed the exam after a lifetime of studying. He then coughed twice like an old man, angering Princess Sisai. She casually picked up the specially made 100-ton hammer and wanted to hit Yu Yang's head, preparing to give him a deafening reminder. Everyone hurriedly rushed forward to stop her. It was Sickly Beauty who stood up for Yu Yang. On the surface, she stood on Princess Sisai's side, but she glared at him. Don't you know that others are anxious? Why do you have to cause trouble? She then comforted Princess Sisai and confiscated her 100-ton hammer at the same time. I will definitely confess. Yu Yang's words sounded like the sophistry of a petty thief who was caught in the police station. Speak. This time, no one gave him a chance to talk nonsense. Actually, the truth is like this. Yu Yang sat down on the chair that Xiao Nu had brought over. As he enjoyed her gentle massage, he pretended to be serious as he explained his experience. The biggest requirement for the godly exterminating mysterious gold is Ji Zun's will. It must be a completely unmoving Ji Zun's will. Anyone who wanted to change its form had to have complete trust in it. No matter what it was made into, the creator had to do it without the slightest bit of doubt. Otherwise it would fail, or rather, it wouldn't succeed at all. The 8 gods were able to create the suspending sky mothership because they believed that it would succeed. Because the 2 gods, Taiyan and Bingli, had succeeded before and left behind the manufacturing method. They don't know that it's possible to create something else. If they don't have absolute faith and certainty in their hearts, then there will only be one outcome for those attempts, and that is, they will always fail. Of course, other than the sovereign's will, there are 2 other key points. Yu Yang paused for a moment, sorted out his words, and explained to everyone, One of them is the compatibility between one's own creativity and the power of the precept in the God-destroying secret gold. The higher one's imagination, the stronger the creativity, and the better the compatibility, then the God-destroying secret gold will be used by him as he pleases. The second point, which is more important, is one's own power. Own power? Many people didn't understand, such as Inan, Yu Bing, and the other girls. Is that so? Some people seem to understand, such as Princess Sisai and Yu Yu. From the fact that the suspending sky mothership created by the Eastern god, Deicide, and the Western god, Black Day, are the largest, we can see a little bit. Before Yu Yang could finish his words, Impatience happily continued, I understand. The stronger the divine power, the higher the realm, the greater the effect on the God-destroying secret gold. Ah, if that's the case, then I'll leave my new dress to you, big bad guy. Southern Demon King giggled. I wanted to make one myself, but my realm is not high enough, so it might not be good enough. So, I'll have to trouble Big Bad Guy to help me. I want one like this. I've already designed the blueprint, but I couldn't make it last time, so I didn't mention it to you. I've been wanting a dress like this for a long time. You want me to make a dress? Yu Yang's face turned blue. Good guy, I just want it. Southern Demon King, the Peepa girl, started to act coquettishly. You want it? Tell me before you sleep, I promise I'll satisfy you then. Yu Yang was determined not to agree. Even if the God-destroying secret gold could be turned into a beautiful dress, how could he, a man, make a dress for a girl like her? How could he show his face? Absolutely not. That's right, why make a dress, you're simply being rude. Fallen Beauty rarely stood on Yu Yang's side. Fallen Flowers girl, you understand me the best. Yu Yang was moved to tears. Call me city mistress. Fallen Beauty acted like a leader and patted Yu Yang's shoulder, reminding him, My dear guard captain, you haven't forgotten this responsibility, right? The responsibility of protecting the city mistress will not be forgotten even in death. Do you want me to warm your bed tonight? Yu Yang was really happy. This was the blessing of his life. No need. Fallen Beauty shook her head and waved her hands. I just feel that sometimes there's a need to give a certain guard captain, who does nothing all day and has no ambition to improve himself, some work. How can I, the city mistress, wear the same set of clothes all the time? This is too unreasonable. This is a serious dereliction of duty by a certain guard captain. What do you mean? Yu Yang asked carefully. If a certain guard captain still wants to sneak into the city lord's bed to snatch the blankets and sleep lazily while standing guard at night, if a certain guard captain still wants to retain the right to warm the bed for free, then this city lord feels that he needs to do a little bit of his duty. Fallen Beauty counted with her fingers and casually counted. If a certain guard captain only gives out the most gorgeous set of clothes, it would definitely not be enough. I believe that the city mistress's mood would not be good. Other than clothes, he also needs to be equipped with weapons, puppets, horse carriages, airships. If he doesn't have a magnificent castle, what kind of city mistress is he? If he doesn't have these, then a certain guard captain should just resign. If he doesn't have the ability to do anything, he shouldn't even think about warming the bed. I'm omnipotent, I can do anything. Yu Yang felt that a man shouldn't say no, especially to the woman he loved. What kind of mentality would it be if he said no? I'll wait and see. Fallen Beauty patted Yu Yang's shoulder, with the air of a city mistress, saying, I have faith in you. Can I find a rope to hang myself on? Yu Yang asked weakly. Before that kind of thing happens, according to the standard, I also want a set. Before Princess Sisai could finish her words, Yu Yang had already collapsed, tears streaming down his face. Tigress, don't hit me when I'm down. Please be magnanimous and let me live. According to the standard, everyone will get a set, everyone will get a share, never fail. Princess Sisai snorted coldly. Otherwise, a certain wolf will sleep alone at night. Dong! This was the sound of Yu Yang fainting. Everyone was overjoyed. It was rare for Princess Qian Qian to have such an opportunity. Usually, even if Princess Sisai had issued a ban, there would always be some girls who were especially compassionate and would secretly help him. For example, a certain Xiaonu who would always stand by her master's side, the gentle and virtuous sickly beauty, or the hard-mouthed but soft-hearted fallen beauty who would always be the first to lift the ban on him. On the surface, fallen beauty the city mistress was making things difficult for her beloved guard captain, but in reality, she was always creating opportunities for him. For example, just now, she was sure that Princess Sisai wouldn't ask for something from him like other people. Hence, she tried to goad him. When Princess Qian Qian saw this, she was indeed tricked. Not to be outdone, she pushed forward her request and even increased the stakes. Regarding this matter, even if everyone didn't mention it, he would complete it for everyone sooner or later. However, Princess Qian Qian especially increased the stakes, so she had to stay behind to supervise him. This unknowingly created an opportunity for both of them. Those who didn't understand would think that fallen beauty was acting coquettishly towards Yu Yang, but it wasn't like that. There weren't many people who could see the real intention. Of course, those who could see it wouldn't say it. After confirming the results of the battle, Impatience yawned and turned to leave. Looking at Yu Bing comforting her brother, saying that she didn't want a skirt, a carriage, an airship, or a castle, Yu and Sickly Beauty looked at each other and smiled. A castle was impossible. Don't even think about a carriage or an airship. Even if it could be done, there was a serious lack of materials. What Yu Yang wanted to improve now was the black tortoise battle armor, that everyone thought was heavy and clumsy. With this idea, although Yu Yang was tired and suffering, for the sake of a happy sex life, for a better tomorrow, Yu Yang had to work hard to move forward. One after another, the perfect armors with similar but different styles were reforged. With the guidance of his divine will, they transformed into sets of unique black tortoise sacred armor. No one would dare to imagine that these crystal-clear super saint-level battle armors were the clumsy, heavy, and inflexible heavy armors from before. What was even more amazing was that every time Yu Yang tried his best to recreate or create a new black tortoise sacred armor, for everyone with the God Destroyer secret gold, the creation god pearl in his body that was overflowing with chaotic energy would gain a little more spirituality and a little more brilliance. However, Yu Yang, who was completely immersed in creation, did not notice its changes. Although creation was hard, Yu Yang enjoyed it. Because right now, he truly had the feeling of being the creator. With a single thought, he was omnipotent. Chapter 1159. In the next few days, Yu Yang used the God Destroyer's secret gold to create more and more things, and his creation skills were getting better and better. Many unimaginable things were created, such as a multiform battle puppet called Black Tortoise Guard, that could enter the water, go ashore, and even fly in the sky. When they were fighting alone, they were human-shaped battle puppets. When they were ridden, they were also beasts. When they were fighting against huge enemies, they could gather tens or hundreds of these transformations and combine into one, turning into Black Tortoise Giant or Black Tortoise Giant Spirit. These indestructible multi-purpose battle puppets were powered by God's stones. As long as there was light, they would never stop moving. Of course, on these Black Tortoise Guards, there were also heaven rune circles that Yu Yang could create with a single thought. Those beautiful and mysterious rune circles were definitely not just for show. Believe in the enemies they were fighting against. They would have the deepest feelings. The God Destroyer's secret gold could create almost anything in the world. Under the guidance of Yu Yang's spiritual will, its manifestation was omnipotent. However, there was one thing that could not be created, and that was life. When Yu Yang discovered this ancient law, he did not pursue a breakthrough in this aspect. It was better not to bother about impossible things. Since the god-destroyer's secret gold could not give birth to life, then the ancient gods who created it must have had their own considerations. He focused on making a breakthrough in his creation. For example, the dress that the southern demon king and the others requested, he naturally would not make it himself. This was because these things could be left to the cute maid, Xiaonu, to do. Yu Yang used the God-Destroyer's secret gold to upgrade everyone's moon battle armor. He combined the two and created a brand new moon battle armor with a single thought. It had the transformation ability of the previous battle armor and the defensive ability of the God-Destroyer's secret gold. It turned out that it took a lot of effort to create the nine-headed dragon. Now it needed to be rebuilt. The only thing that made Yu Yang feel slightly regretful was that although the nine-headed dragon's combat power had increased by 100 times, it could not become a divine weapon. This might be the biggest weakness of the God-Destroyer's secret gold. Half a month later. Am I seeing things? When Raven and Pelican returned to Pond Goose with a large group of space pirates, they could not believe what they saw. Currently, there were no changes to the exterior of the Gannet, but the interior had been turned upside down. All the decks and cabins had been remodeled. Other than the Gladiator Plaza remaining in the middle, the rest of the ship had been remodeled by Yu Yang according to his own ideas, turning it into an unprecedented new ship. Not to mention Raven and the others, even the original captain, Marshal Griffin, would not be able to recognize that this was the original Pelican. What's going on? Pelican scratched the back of his head stupidly. With his intellect, it would be impossible for him to figure out the truth in this lifetime. I don't know. Don't ask me. The spotted duck's intelligence was almost on par with the pelican's. He, Grasshopper, and the others had been told by Yu Yang that they were going to modify the pelican. At first, everyone did not pay much attention to it. They thought that the entire process would take a few years or even decades, and Titan Yu was just giving them a plan. Unexpectedly, when they woke up, they realized that they were living in another suspending mothership. They were petrified for a long time before they finally found the Gladiator Plaza and found the goods there. Only then did everyone recognize that this was the Pelican that had been modified by Titan Yu. No one could understand how Titan Yu could modify it so quickly. No one knew what method he had used. However, after living here for more than 10 days, they had already gotten used to the new ship. Indeed, the new Pelican that had been modified by Yu Yang was more reasonable, convenient, and comfortable than before. It became like this after waking up? After listening to Spotted Duck and the others' introduction, Raven was so shocked that his heart almost exploded. Even the 8 master gods would need at least 10 years to build a suspending mothership. It was said that a super-large one like the Dragon Eagle would need a few hundred years. Titan Yu had completed the entire modification of the Pelican in one night. What kind of abnormal existence was he? Was this guy still human? He was simply a monster. Why didn't he modify the outside? Even a fool like the Pelican now believed that Yu Yang had the ability to modify the entire body. However, he did not understand why he wanted to retain the appearance of the outside. He said that the outside of the ship was already designed perfectly and that there was no need to modify it. Grasshopper shrugged. It was also to protect the secret of the modification. Raven realized this point. Perhaps, but I feel that this guy is not a low-profile person at all. Grasshopper inadvertently revealed a big secret to Raven and the others. It is said that in order to strengthen our combat power, he designed a battle armor made of God-Destroyer mystic gold, called the Black Tortoise Heavy Armor. I have already seen it. The design is extremely mighty and domineering. When I wear it, I don't even need to be afraid of the 5 evildoers. At that time, I will definitely be able to take the head of the enemy even among thousands of soldiers and horses. Grasshopper, forget it. Spotted Duck mocked him without holding back. A little mouse wearing the lion armor will not be able to become the king of beasts. We have it too. Pelican excitedly rushed to the captain's room. As soon as they entered the newly constructed piloting room, Raven and Pelican discovered that there were a few hundred humanoid battle dolls made of God Destroyer mystic gold. They were of different sizes and heights, and they were all busy in an orderly manner. They were 100 times more efficient than the original crew of the Pelican ship. Yu Yang, who was sitting on the captain's seat high up on the bridge, yawned and waved his hand at Raven and the others who were dazzled. "You guys don't need to ask anything. I haven't slept well for the past few days, and I don't have the energy right now. I will go back and catch up on sleep. You guys wait patiently. Once Winged Tiger and the others return, we will set off. Oh right, I have already placed your heavy armor in the armory. Only the combatants can wear it. I have worked so hard to make it, don't waste it." Grasshopper felt that these words were directed at him. He was afraid that he would not have a share in the end. He hurriedly stood up to protest. "I am also a standard combatant. It would definitely be suitable for me to wear the black tortoise heavy armor. At the very least, it would be better than that idiot Spotted Duck." Spotted Duck had already become familiar with him these few days, so he was not angry. In any case, everyone was trash and would definitely not be able to help in battle. The black tortoise heavy armor that Titan Yu designed was definitely for Raven, Pelican and Winged Tiger, these leaders. However, it was still necessary for him to be thick-skinned enough to wear a set of black tortoise heavy armor. This was the greatest fortune and glory of his entire life. Since Titan Yu knew how to make it, everyone did not stand on ceremony with him. When they reached the armory, everyone happily put on the thick and heavy black tortoise heavy armor. Only then did the idiot Pelican realize a problem. "Those battle dolls can't be the pilots, right? If they do all the work, then what should we do? This won't do. We have to take on the job of piloting the ship." Raven rolled his eyes. "You don't believe me when I say that you are stupid. If the galactic pirates could pilot the Gannet, would Titan Yu still need to painstakingly make battle dolls out of God Destroyer's secret gold to pilot it?" By the time Winged Tiger, Gale Eagle and Fiery Bird returned with a large group of temporarily recruited veterans, a few days later, they were completely dumbfounded when they saw that the Gannet had been renamed Big Swan as suggested by Raven and the rest. Those veterans who were familiar with piloting the ship were also completely confused. How was this the standard suspending space carrier that had remained the same for tens of thousands of years? Other than the shell, the inside of the thing was even stranger than that of a stranger. Even a seasoned first mate who had served and lived on the suspended mothership for decades felt that he had become a blind man. Everything in front of his eyes was black, and he could not understand anything that he saw. Everything that he saw was confusing. Luckily, Yu Yang had already created a few hundred black tortoise guards. These battle dolls were proficient not only in combat but also in life support. Without any effort they could start up the warship and take off into the sky. They would never make a mistake and they would never get tired. The level of piloting the ship was so precise that any veteran would want to cry. Living in this place is simply heaven. Drink, 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 let's drink to the brim. Pelican was a simple-minded fellow. After a few days, he had already gotten used to the life here. He did not need to think about anything and only cared about eating and drinking every day. How carefree was this? As for the food, there were tens of thousands of people stored on the ship. It would not be finished even if they ate for 10 years. Furthermore, Titan Yu was a generous master who even provided wine and often treated everyone to the heaven-reaching towers fine wine. Where else could they find such a life? All right. Winged Tiger and the rest were speechless. They suspected that Titan Yu had misunderstood that galactic pirates were a bunch of paupers who had never eaten their fill. Pelican, Spotted Duck, and the rest were simply too embarrassing. Raven shrugged his shoulders helplessly and waved his hands. He had no other choice. In reality, life here was just so good different from those gluttons, Winged Tiger, Wind Eagle, Flamingo and the rest started to discuss the upcoming battle with Raven after recovering from their shock. Since Titan Yu had made such preparations, it proved that the upcoming battle would definitely not be easy. Not mentioning Spotted Duck and the rest, as the leaders, they definitely could not turn into worms. They would definitely fight with their lives on the line. It was just that they did not know to what extent. Furthermore, they still had an agreement with the Southeast God Kingdom's Thunder Beast and the other generals to kill their enemies. If they lost at that time, not only would they lose face, they would also lose face for Titan Yu, who created the Black Tortoise heavy armor. Inside the Grimoire world, Yu Yang was currently discussing the next step of the plan with Princess Sisai and the rest. Whether it was Princess Sisai or Impatience, they all felt that Yu Yang should first go to the God-vanquishing secret realm to take a look. Perhaps the place where Tai Yen and Bingli died still had some information. If they could find it, it would undoubtedly be beneficial to the Western camp led by Black Day. Furthermore, Yu Yang's main reason for coming to the outer mountain was for the ancient relics. Perhaps there might be information about it in the God-vanquishing secret realm. Even if they took 10,000 steps back and did not obtain anything in the God-vanquishing secret realm, at least there was God-vanquishing secret gold there. We must go to the God-vanquishing secret realm, but I'm worried that we might meet Ji Wuri there. Yu Yang knew that people like Ji Wuri were extremely vigilant. Once he discovered that something was amiss, he would definitely escape. At that time, it would be difficult to kill him. Rather than worrying about Ji Wuri, why not worry about the Eastern camp? Princess Sisai frowned. I have a very bad premonition. Princess Sisai, who possessed the 6 records' inherent skill, was usually much more sensitive than Yu Yang. Moreover, her premonition ability was also the strongest. Other than Shui Wuxia, no one else could be compared to her. When she said this, everyone's expression turned solemn. Impatience boldly guessed. Could it be that the Eastern God Master Deicide had persuaded the Northeastern God Master to join the Eastern camp? If this fence-sitter turned against them at the most crucial moment, it would indeed be very troublesome. An open enemy would be much easier to deal with than going undercover. Unfortunately, this was a divine master with extremely powerful strength. He was a target that both camps had to fight for. No matter which side the Northeastern God Master sided with, that side's strength would increase greatly. Under such a delicate situation, the Eastern camp, which was slightly weaker, was really in a passive position. Yu Yang pondered for a while and shook his head. We are not familiar with the outer mountain, so we can't say for sure what the relationship between the 8 divine masters is like. However, we have to fight this battle. Even if the Eastern camp cannot win, we must complete our mission. Moreover, Ji Wuri must be eliminated. Chapter 1160. Far from reaching the God-vanquishing secret land, Raven, who was passing through a border town of the Southeast God Kingdom, learned a shocking piece of news. The West God Kingdom had declared war on the East God Kingdom. For 10,000 years, the 8 God Kingdoms had signed a peace agreement. Now, it was unilaterally torn up by the West God Kingdom. The reason for the West God Lord Black Day's declaration of war was that he had proposed marriage to the East God Lord Deicide's most beloved daughter. Deicide had rejected him with the saying, "I would rather marry a mortal than marry an idiot like Black Day." Then, the West God Lord Black Day challenged the East God Lord Deicide to a battle in the name of his divine prestige, and said that the West God Kingdom would send out all its troops to show its determination to marry. This move really shocked everyone. What was Black Day's age? 1,000-year-old tortoise, 10,000 years old. He actually wanted to marry Deicide's most precious daughter, the little girl who had just been born 3 years ago and was still a babbling little girl. This was not the way to eat young grass. Not to mention Deicide, even if it was another father, he would not agree to such a perverted request. Of course, even a fool could think that Black Day did not want to marry a little girl who was still suckling milk, but to find an excuse to declare war. However, to find an excuse to declare war, could you find an appropriate reason? Did you really think that deicide had no temper? As for Black Day's claim that the divine prestige and prestige were not to be offended, it was even more ridiculous. Whether deicide had said that or not, no one knew, but he was also a god lord, not a mortal. What kind of divine prestige did the West god Lord Black Day put on in front of deicide? This act of acting tough was too much. As for the whole army attacking the East God Kingdom, it was not called a marriage, but an invasion. West God Nation made his move so soon? When Winged Tiger, Wind Eagle and the others heard the news, they all felt that it was too sudden. It seems like everything had a plan, including the hijacking of the pond goose and the return of Jiwuri. The Black Day's excuse of sending out troops must have been part of it. Fiery Bird had come to meet up with them. After receiving the news, he offered his own opinion. What should we do now? Raven looked at Yu Yang. The declaration of war by the West God Nation is equivalent to the declaration of war by the entire Western camp to the Eastern camp. A war of gods that sweeps through the mountains is bound to happen. Yu Yang thought for a while and made a decision. Let's head to the agreed location first. Although it's not time yet, let's contact Marshal Griffin and Marshal Windears as soon as possible. If we can't get in touch, then we'll go directly to the East God Nation. I think the center of this war will definitely be in the East God Nation. Even if the Southeast God Nation and the South God Nation do battle, they won't be the focus of the Western camp's attacks. What about you? You're leaving? Pelican asked anxiously. I have something to do. I need to personally go to the God-vanquishing secret realm to investigate. Black Day and deicide can't fight for the time being. A war between armies is not the same as a war between gods. Before we get rid of the Southeast God Lord Akaji and the South God Lord Tencho, and cut off these two powerful allies of deicide, Black Day won't fight recklessly with deicide. Yu Yang was not in a hurry to make a move. All right, we'll act according to the plan. If we can't make it, we'll wait for you at the East God Nation's stormy stronghold. Winged Tiger and Wind Eagle exchanged opinions and made a decision. Before I leave, there's one thing I want to remind everyone. Yu Yang's expression became solemn. Jiwuri's cunning and methods are definitely not something you can imagine. Our battle on the ship may have already reached the ears of Black Day and Jiwuri through Ancient Skeleton and 10,000 Evil. I can't say what kind of revenge they'll take, but what I can be sure of is that the enemy will do their best to infiltrate our group, lower our vigilance, and turn around at the most crucial moment. I'm not sure about Black Day, but Jiwuri is good at transformation and can perfectly change into different identities. Moreover, he at least has a humanoid beast that knows how to erase memories. If you guys have any reaction of losing memories, you must be alert. Also, after I leave, unless that person can give you this kind of giant shadow, he's just a fake. Understood. Winged Tiger and the rest were drenched in cold sweat after hearing Yu Yang's warning. If Jiwuri knew how to change into someone else's appearance, and he was good at erasing memories, that would be really troublesome. If they couldn't see through him, they would be kept in the dark. Even if they could see through him, he would still erase their memories. This Jiwuri was simply flawless. Right now, they could only hope that he wouldn't target small fries like them. Otherwise, they really couldn't do anything to him. After Yu Yang left, Winged Tiger, Wind Eagle, and Fiery Bird discussed repeatedly and felt that the best way to prevent this was to move as a group. Not mentioning the subordinates, the few leaders had to move together. They wouldn't give the enemy a chance to invade. It wasn't impossible for Jiwuri to target small fries like the space pirates and use them to find the eastern camp. The space pirates weren't familiar with the eastern camp, but they were working together to fight against the enemy. Using the identity of the space pirates to sneak into the eastern camp was also a shortcut. If there wasn't such a possibility, Yu Yang wouldn't have solemnly reminded Winged Tiger and the rest to prevent internal infiltration. God vanquishing secret realm. Yu Yang teleported at full speed towards this destination. He spent a full 2 days before he reached this legendary secret realm. If not for the map provided by the space pirates and the navigation star chart on the original Swan, Yu Yang wouldn't have been able to find this remote place even if he spent 10 times the time. It wasn't wrong to call it a secret realm. This god-vanquishing secret realm wasn't some area outside the mountains. It was like a huge star hanging high up in the sky. Moreover, it was surrounded by dark clouds that covered the sky and never dissipated. It was a desolate land, and everything within 10,000 miles was dark. The barren mountains were thin, and there were often strange tornadoes that came from the top of the dark clouds. They would appear and disappear from time to time. Yu Yang also saw that in this place, there was an aurora phenomenon that only appeared in the polar regions. Countless twisted auroras slowly glided across the sky and dyed the dark clouds with a unique color. After passing through the dark clouds that were hundreds of kilometers thick, it suddenly became clear. The sky was dotted with stars. A huge black silhouette that looked like a star appeared in front of him. It was completely made of God-vanquishing secret gold, without a trace of impurity. Stepping on it, Yu Yang found that this place was filled with a special type of law power. It wasn't a ban on martial arts, but it could at least weaken the strength of anyone who entered by hundreds or thousands of times. Although Yu Yang had entered a treasure mountain, he wasn't in a hurry to start digging. He first flew around this god-vanquishing secret realm twice, not missing anything, and carefully explored it. After confirming that there wasn't any god hiding or tailing him, Yu Yang summoned Princess Sisai and Impatience, letting them experience this god-vanquishing secret realm. With Princess Sisai's 6 records talent and Impatience's wisdom, Yu Yang felt that it would be of great help to have them accompany him. It was a good wish, but the truth was the opposite. Even with Princess Sisai and Impatience accompanying him, after a day of searching, Yu Yang still didn't find anything. Didn't find anything? How is that possible? When they returned to the grimoire to rest, Yu Yang explained the situation to everyone, causing them to gasp in shock. If Yu Yang, Princess Sisai and Impatience couldn't find the target with their senses, then the possibility of the target's existence was close to zero. Unfortunately, this was the place where the 2 great gods, Taiyan and Bingli, perished. Even if the 8 master gods tried to erase it, it was impossible for them to leave no traces behind. Everyone knew that after reaching a certain realm, it was very difficult to kill a warrior, especially a god realm warrior. Even if one's strength was overwhelming, one could only seal a god realm warrior and not kill them directly. Were the 2 great gods, Taiyan and Bingli, really dead? Even if they had been killed by the 8 divine masters working together, where were the traces of their divine power, divine consciousness, and divine spark before they died? The god-vanquishing Mystery Land did have a restriction, but that wasn't a reason to erase the traces left behind by Taiyan and Bingli. Was it done by the 8 master gods? Or was there a hidden secret in the god-vanquishing Mystery Land? After the discussion, Yu Yang took the lead. After confirming that there was no danger in the god-vanquishing Mystery Land and that it was absolutely safe, everyone moved out and used the advantage of numbers to search. This time, not only Yu, Sickly Beauty and the others moved out, even the golden elf Bao Er, who usually only knew how to cause trouble, and Xiaonu, who obediently stayed at home to do housework, came out to help. Let's not talk about whether Bao Er and the others would help even more. At least they were enthusiastic. 3 days passed. It was still a depressing result. This place is too strange. Although I don't feel any evil intentions, I think there must be something misleading us. Sky Calamity, this little girl, was delusional enough to think that there was an invisible existence's will that created an illusion for everyone as a prank. There is the power of the rule, but it doesn't create illusions. Yu Yang tried to use the supreme will and the creation domain to search, but he didn't find any abnormalities. Maybe it's an illusion created by that thing that can fool your domain. Sky Disaster wasn't willing to let her fantasy theory be overturned. Enough! Impatience glared at her. I didn't say anything. Sky Disaster was so scared that she stuck out her little pink tongue and covered her mouth with her white jade hand. The relics of the two great gods, Taiyan and Bingli, are definitely there. I have this vague feeling, but the strange thing is, I can't be sure, and I can't even locate it in the god-vanquishing secret land. Not to mention Princess Sisai, even Yu Yang, sickly beauty, and Yu had this extremely faint feeling, as if there was some kind of voice calling out to them. But when they tried to sense and search carefully, they couldn't find anything. It was really driving them crazy. Everyone, rest well. We'll slowly search tomorrow. This kind of thing can't be rushed. Yu advised everyone to go back and rest, but she stayed behind and pulled Yu Yang. She whispered in his ear, Xiao-san, why don't you look for Wuxia to think of a way? Shui Wuxia was still in a deep sleep. Her consciousness would occasionally wake up from the chaotic state. But in an extremely short period of time, she would fall asleep again. Yu Yang felt that this was a good sign. It meant that she was about to wake up. He would look for opportunities to call her every few days, hoping that she would regain her consciousness soon. Yu asked Yu Yang to look for Shui Wuxia to think of a way, mainly because she hoped that she could bring him some enlightenment and help him comprehend the confusing clouds. She knew what kind of person her brother was. If he saw that Shui Wuxia had woken up, he would definitely be extremely surprised. Once he was in a good state, maybe the god-vanquishing secret land would be easily solved. Hearing Yu's words, Yu Yang was also a little tempted. Looking for Shui Wuxia to solve the puzzle of the god-vanquishing secret land was of course good. Even if it couldn't be solved, it would be a great thing to wake her up. Chapter 1161. When Yu Yang came to Shui Wuxia's room, he found that Princess Sisai was actually inside. It was as if she did not see the arrival of Yu Yang. Yu Yang sat down. He sat next to her, side by side. She also did not say a word. The two of them reached out their hands and held on to Shui Wuxia's hands. Their minds were extremely tacit. Their hearts were as one, intertwined, and then gently entered Shui Wuxia's sea of consciousness. They were deeply afraid that the slightest fluctuation would hurt this sleeping ice beauty. Shui Wuxia's mind seemed to have produced a trace of response under the repeated calls of the two of them. However, before Yu Yang and Princess Sisai could clearly sense it, it had already disappeared without a trace. Perhaps she saw the tacit understanding between Yu Yang and Princess Sisai, and felt sour in her heart, and was unwilling to make a further response. Perhaps she wanted to respond, to give Yu Yang and Princess Sisai a response, but there was still no way for her to break free from the chaos in her sea of consciousness. Yu Yang and Princess Sisai's minds slowly withdrew from Shui Wuxia's sea of consciousness. Whether she was willing to respond or whether she could respond, as long as she knew that the two of them had been here, that was enough. More and more calls from their minds. This would allow this snow girl to break free from the chaos earlier and regain her consciousness. Perhaps not long after, she would be able to wake up on her own. Yu Yang carefully covered the blanket for Shui Wuxia, and gently kissed her little face. This careful and gentle action made Princess Sisai a little jealous. This brat was rarely so gentle to her. The way the two of them interacted, if it was not beating or scolding, they were born to be enemies. In fact, how could she not hope that this brat Yu Yang would treat her as gently as he treated Shui Wuxia? Of course, this little bit of jealousy did not last long, it was just a flash. Shui Wuxia was like this. She was in a deep sleep. She couldn't get jealous even if she wanted to. If Shui Wuxia was sane like before, Princess Qian reckoned that she wouldn't be able to resist punching this kid in the nose. Now, not only was she not angry, she even pitied this kid. What a good Xuanyo, the most capable beauty by his side. In the past, she was always involved in everything, and they had a tacit understanding of each other. He could fight at the front lines peacefully, and she could plan from the back. But now, because he had fused with an unknown divine power, he had fallen into a long slumber. It was unclear what his future would be like. If this Xuanyo was by his side with her help, it probably wouldn't be like this, where this brat needed to do everything himself. This brat was laughing and joking on the surface, but her 6 records innate skill could clearly sense his heart. Although he appeared to be carefree, he was actually very worried about this snow beauty. He just hid his longing deeply. Only when he was sleeping at night would he be able to see the real him. If only she could be like Shui Wuxia and have a way to help him, it would be great. Unfortunately, no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't replace her. Princess Sisai waited for Yu Yang at the door for a while. Seeing him walking over, she took a step forward. The two of them walked in silence for a while. Princess Sisai suddenly said, "God vanquishing secret realm might be a place of hidden treasures. Its confusing is like a door, isolating everything. If we can find the key to open this door, then everything will be solved." With regards to Princess Sisai's words, Yu Yang was slightly startled, but he immediately nodded his head, expressing his agreement. "Did you think of it? You thought further than me. I also feel that we need a key to unravel the mystery. If Wu Xia is here, she should know what the key is." Princess Sisai sighed in her heart. She wasn't stupid, but she still couldn't replace Wu Xia. She's not a deity, how can she predict everything? Yu Yang hurriedly waved his hands and comforted Princess Sisai with kind words. "You don't have to think like that. Anyway, we still have time, and we're not in a rush. We can slowly find the answer." "It's okay, I'm not jealous of her." Princess Sisai unexpectedly reached out her hand and gently held Yu Yang's big hand. "I just want to help you." Tigress, actually you've always been very capable." Yu Yang was baffled. What was wrong with this rouge tigress tonight? She didn't lose her temper or hit him, but was instead as gentle as water. Could it be that the moon rose from the west tonight? If it wasn't for the fact that Princess Qian's hand had been holding his big hand, Yu Yang wouldn't have believed that this tigress had taken the initiative to do this. "Actually, I'm more proficient in fighting and killing. Fighting is my strength. I'm really not interested in things like guessing and setting up a trap. Although I'm not stupid, I know that I can't be compared to Wu Xia. Our way of thinking and direction are completely different." Princess Sisai suddenly smiled at Yu Yang. "You won't blame me for being useless, right?" "Yes." Yu Yang was so shocked that he stepped on the wrong step and fell into the pond beside him. "When Shui Wuxia wakes up, I'll return all those annoying things to her and focus on helping you fight in the future." Princess Sisai extended her hand towards Yu Yang, who was standing in the pond for the second time. "In order to supervise a forgetful fellow like you, I'll keep this authority for a while. Actually, I quite like that, the current you." Yu Yang couldn't say it out loud. It seemed like he hadn't tried to say that he liked her in a proper manner. "Is it okay to punch you every day?" Princess Qian's jade-like face turned crimson as she glared at him with her clear tiger-like eyes. Yu Yang, who was beaten until his whole body was half burnt, giggled foolishly, unable to say a single word. Both of their hands, unknowingly, they held each other's hands even tighter, their 10 fingers interlocked. Princess Sisai suddenly recalled the past. "When I was young, I was very mischievous, wilder than normal boys. Furthermore, I was very competitive and didn't want to lose to others in any aspect. Even the old man at home was worried that I wouldn't be able to get married when I grew up. Before I met you, I didn't care at all. But after I met you, there was a period of time when I thought of changing. But you know, I'm just like this, I can't change. Furthermore, this idiot, didn't mind at all. You even pampered me and indulged me, so I didn't want to change. Yu Yang patted his chest. It's okay, my skin is thick, I can take a beating. Princess Sisai glared at him again. This time, the electric current definitely exceeded 1,000,000 volts. Yu Yang was electrocuted to the point that he almost forgot his surname. He was dizzy. You really won't change? Princess Sisai turned her head and asked after walking for a while. Her bright tiger-like eyes were so clear that they could reflect Yu Yang's soul. I won't change. Yu Yang really wanted to hug this beauty and promise her that he would love her for 1,000 years or even 10,000 years. He wanted to love her forever, for the rest of his life. Humph, who doesn't know that you won't suffer a loss even if you die? You're especially narrow-minded. In the future, I'll definitely get even with you. Although your skin is thick and can take a beating now, there might be a day when you'll get back at me with interest. I'm still afraid of that. Princess Sisai raised her small fist and waved it lightly, hitting his body coquettishly. Her strength couldn't even scare a mosquito away. Of course I'll get back at you. Just like Kitty, she always teases me. I'll have to punish her according to the family rules. Yu Yang laughed out loud when he heard that. No way. Princess Sisai's delicate face seemed to be on fire. She was extremely embarrassed. She spoils you, that's why she plays with you crazily. I definitely won't do that. Don't look at me, don't even think about doing that to me. Definitely not. She recalled the time when she accidentally saw Drunken Cat and Yu Yang having fun. In the heat of passion, he slapped her snow-white buttocks. He did not use a lot of strength, but his 5 fingers left a clear palm print on her snow-white buttocks. This made that Kitty extremely excited and immediately meowed. Princess Qian knew that she would definitely have to do the thing between husband and wife in the future, but that kind of method she was a little unable to accept. Compared to that kind of unusual stimulation, Princess Sisai was more inclined to the more normal ones like fallen flowers or Anan. Impatience, that Sky Law Empress, was full of tricks, and often fought together with the Charm Demon Empress or other people. She felt that she couldn't do it, but she also couldn't do it like Shui Wuhan, who was as gentle as water. As the lovers' duel cultivated more and more, their tacit understanding became better and better, and their spiritual connection became deeper and deeper. Sometimes, unintentionally, they could sense everything about him. Furthermore, in order to dispel her fear and curiosity, Impatience and the others didn't avoid it too much. They hoped that little virgins like Princess Sisai and the others who hadn't experienced the ways of the world would learn more, so that their dual cultivation would be smoother and more harmonious in the future. If not for the fact that Shui Wuxiao was in a deep sleep, and Princess Sisai wasn't willing to compete, she would have already officially dual cultivated with this beloved wolf as husband and wife. Princess Sisai still blushed a little when discussing these things now. But she didn't resist anymore. After all, he was the man she loved the most, the husband who would accompany her for life. Perhaps the ancient remnant is the key to open the god-vanquishing secret realm. Yu Yang didn't let Princess Sisai be embarrassed for too long, and immediately changed the topic. He knew that for this proud and shy tigress to be able to do this, it was already very rare. He really hadn't seen tigress being so gentle and shy like tonight. What should he say? My tigress can't possibly be this cute? Yu Yang changed the topic, and Princess Sisai secretly heaved a sigh of relief. She was really afraid that he would continue this embarrassing topic. That would be too embarrassing. Princess Sisai also had her suspicions about the idea that the ancient remnant was the key to opening the god-vanquishing secret realm, but she wasn't too sure. Her 6 records' inherent skill didn't help much this time. Perhaps the god-vanquishing secret realm created by the ancient great god was far beyond her current sensing range. Time unknowingly slipped away. The two of them unknowingly sat next to each other. Although their eyes were looking at each other, their fingers were clasped tightly underneath. Even Princess Sisai didn't have any intention of letting go, not to mention Yu Yang the wolf. Words seemed to have lost their power and meaning in this atmosphere. Their faces were getting closer and closer, and their burning lips were approaching each other, bringing with it an innate instinct and desire, just as their lips lightly touched, giving rise to an unlimited amount of electricity, making their hearts and souls intertwined. Not far away, a paw sound could be heard. The slight movement woke the man and woman who were immersed in the world of the two of them. Princess Qian was shocked. She turned her head and saw 3 people hiding behind the laurel tree. Luo Hua Beauty and Tian Fa Empress covered their faces and sighed. As for the Southern Goblin King who was originally hiding on the tree, she was too engrossed in looking and slip. Only then did she wake up Yu Yang and Princess Qian, who were about to kiss and kiss. Fallen Beauty giggled, "You guys continue, I'm just passing by." Sky Law Empress, who was wearing a nightgown, criticized the Southern Demon King for being too stupid. "After waiting for so long, it's finally the most important moment, you actually." Southern Demon King apologized embarrassedly, "I was too engrossed. Wasn't I anxious? After waiting for so long, this idiot didn't do anything. He didn't hug me, touch me, or even kiss me. He waited for so long that my neck grew long. When I kissed him, I was so happy that I didn't control my strength well. Furthermore, you guys were the ones who squeezed me. If you guys weren't behind me, I wouldn't have fallen. I've disturbed a couple's world of the two of you. I'm sorry, I'll leave immediately. Princess Sisai was embarrassed and immediately ran away. Her face was so red that it looked like it was on fire. Yu Yang was furious. "The 3 of you ruin my plans, you're too hateful." Sky Law Empress rested her chin on her hand and pondered. "This brat is not familiar with the job. It seems like we didn't teach him well. How can this be? Queen Breeze, show your might as a queen and teach this brat how to grasp the opportunity at the most important moment. If this clumsy method were to spread, we would lose face." Southern Demon King immediately cooperated. "Summon the criminal Yu Clan's 3rd young master. No, summon the husband Yu Clan's 3rd young master to come and serve." After a night of tireless teaching, Yu Yang's abilities and techniques had improved a lot. However, he was still extremely tired. If it was someone else who had to deal with this kind of continuous battle, they would have been exhausted long ago. Fortunately, Yu Yang had unlimited battle strength and was indestructible. In the end, he was able to defeat 3 extremely strong opponents, a terrifying charm demon queen and a little slave girl with unfathomable battle strength. The next day, when Yu Yang was still sleeping soundly, Princess Sisai barged in. Ignoring the 3 beauties, she directly pulled Yu Yang out of their entanglement and scolded, "Are you a pig? The sun is already up and you still want to sleep? Hurry up and wake up, there's a lot of work waiting for you. Do you think it's so easy to be the master of the house?" In a daze, Yu Yang opened his eyes and saw that it was Princess Qian. He still remembered her gentleness from last night and immediately smiled. "Good morning, Hu Niu." The reply he got was, "Morning your head." All right, a certain princess had reverted back to the arrogant tigress in the morning. Chapter 1162. For the rest of the day, Yu Yang was doodling. He seemed to have nothing to do. Princess Sisai did not care at first, but she could not help but be curious. She found an excuse to sneak a peek a few times, but she found out that the doodles were just sketches of scales and claws. It was not a strict design, and it was not a whole composition. She could not help but be stunned. Time was obviously tight. How could this brat be so free? What was he doing? Not only her, even Sickly Beauty and Yu, who had always cooperated with Yu Yang to perfect all kinds of details, did not know what Yu Yang was doing. The doodles on the paper increased, and in the end there was a thick stack. Other than Yu Yang, no one could understand what it was. "What is this?" Princess Sisai looked at the doodles that Yu Yang had drawn for a while. She was dazzled. Although she had participated in the inscription of the Heaven Rune Circle before, she had never seen such a complicated design. If this was a design blueprint, then what was Yu Yang trying to make? Princess Sisai found that she could not understand it. The more she looked, the more confused she became. At first, Yu Yang ignored her and continued to draw on the inspiration that flashed in his mind. Only until half an hour later, when the last stroke was completed, did he put down the brush as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. His spirit was slightly tired, but he couldn't hide his excitement. He introduced it to Princess Qian, Luohua Beauty and the others. I want to use the God Destroyer's secret gold to create a battle doll to fight against the demonic god of the human valley. One of the evil deities' fingers is comparable to a mountain. Extrapolating from this to his entire body, I estimate his height to be between 30 to 50 kilometers. For such a huge evil deities, ordinary war dolls are meaningless to him. Sometimes, a body that surpasses everything can crush everything. Therefore, in order to defeat the evil deities, we must create a pinnacle war doll that is equal to or even surpasses the size of the evil deities. I got the inspiration for this war doll from the original Pelican hovering mothership. That's right, I decided to use the almost indestructible God Destroyer Mystic Gold to create a peak-level war doll. It can be used by us like a hovering mothership during normal times, and it can be used as a war doll during battles. Create a war puppet with a range of more than 50 kilometers? Everyone was stunned. It must be noted that the largest suspending motherships in Beyond Mountains, the Dragon Hawk and the Kuan-Pung, were only 10 kilometers long. 50 kilometers and 10 kilometers were two completely different things. This was the difference between a strong man and a baby. Moreover, even though the Dragon Hawk and Kuan-Pung heavenly suspending motherships were only 10 kilometers long, everyone knew from the information obtained from General Golden Condor and the others that these suspending motherships all took 100 years to build. No one doubted that Yu Yang could create such a peak-level war doll, but everyone was a little worried. Would they make it in time? They had to return to Human Valley in half a year. The battle between the gods in the underground valley and the mountains beyond the mountains was imminent. How much time did Yu Yang intend to spend to create this peak-level war doll? 1 month or 3 months? If it was too long, would they make it in time? There's still time. Yu Yang could see everyone's worries at a glance. He smiled and comforted them. I've calculated it. If I'm not wrong and everything goes smoothly, then half a month should be enough. What? Princess Sisai and the others were dumbfounded after hearing this. This was a 50-kilometer-long war doll, and it was all made of secret gold of God Destroyer. It would be good if the materials could be prepared in half a month. Where did Yu Yang get his confidence from? What kind of plan would he implement next? Even the Impatiens, who was not very interested in war dolls, became curious. If it's comparable to the evil deities, you only have half a month to make a war doll that is at least 50 kilometers long. How are you going to make it? Yu Yang was shocked. Who said it was 50 kilometers long? I'm going to make a winged dragon that is 108 kilometers long. 50 kilometers, I'll be done in 7 or 8 days. Everyone was speechless. 50 kilometers was not enough, and he wanted to make a winged dragon that was 108 kilometers long. Wait, what was a winged dragon? Everyone was interested in this new war doll and sat around it. Even the half-elf slave, who never participated in the discussion, blinked her big eyes and waited for Yu Yang to announce the answer. Seeing that there was no other way, Yu Yang could only explain the Eastern Clan's winged dragon to everyone. Actually, this can be summarized in one sentence. It is the most powerful mythological beast in terms of killing. Of course, such a brief explanation could not satisfy everyone. Then, Yu Yang told everyone about the legendary invincible great demon King Qiyu. He explained in detail the war between Xianyuan and Qiyu. He talked about how this pair of old enemies fought until the heavens fell and the earth cracked. He also talked about how each of them used their unique skills to call the wind and summon the rain. In order to fight for the strongest royal power, the sun and the moon lost their luster. Everyone listened with great interest. Finally, Yu Yang ended with a sentence. That awesome Qi Yu was killed by Winged Dragon. This time, everyone was shocked. Qi Yu and Xian Yuan could be said to be locked in a battle. Both of them were peerless experts. How could they be killed by Winged Dragon who just passed by? Before this question could be asked, Yu Yang listed a few more examples. Xing Tian who could not die after beheading, Quafu who courageously chased after the sun, the river demon who stopped Yu the Great from controlling the flood, the ancient dragon turtle who could eat the sky if it raised its head and swallow the earth, if it lowered its head and swallowed the earth, if it lowered its head and forced Nuwa to cut off its legs to support the sky. Gong Gong who was upset after losing to Zhu Rong and crashed into Mount Buzhou, and so on. In the end, they were all killed by Winged Dragon. Although these were all legends and not necessarily true, it could also indirectly reflect the fighting power of Winged Dragon. It was indeed very powerful. Among the Eastern clan, most of the clans were kind and peaceful. They did not like to fight, let alone war. However, Winged Dragon happened to be one of the few warmongers. In the Eastern world, Winged Dragon, whose tail could split the earth, and Fairy Ba, who could travel thousands of miles, were both warmongers. They were also the god of killing, that their enemies were terrified of. Isn't there only one Winged Dragon? The half-elf slave asked innocently. Actually, Winged Dragon is a clan, just like the Nine Glory clan or the Golden Crow clan that we met before. Of course, the Golden Crow clan can barely be considered as a clan, but the Nine Glory clan in the Heaven Realm is no longer a pure Eastern clan. The real Eastern clan, Bing-In, whom we know, is from the Kylan clan. Like Winged Dragon, Kylan is the purest and most powerful celestial clan in the East. The Kylan clan is kind, while the Winged Dragon clan is evil and likes to kill. Of course, the Winged Dragon clan is a member of the Eastern world after all. They will not take the initiative to kill, nor are they bloodthirsty. However, when they are provoked by the enemy, they will not hesitate to kill the enemy, unlike the other Eastern clans who ignore or forgive. Yu Yang did not know much about the Eastern Immortal clan at first. However, perhaps because of the subtle influence of the Heavenly Sword Goddess and Koki no Koki, he unknowingly understood many secrets of the Eastern world. Usually, he would not take the initiative to mention the Eastern world to everyone. But today, everyone asked about it. He did not hide it. Anyway, they were all his people, lovers who would accompany him for a lifetime. There was nothing in the world that he could not talk about. Other than the matter about the Heavenly Sword Goddess, there was almost nothing else that he could hide. Of course, everyone knew about it but did not say anything. Even if they knew that the Phoenix Sisters or even guessed that there was a higher existence, but since Yu Yang did not say anything, they would not ask and let him keep some important and necessary secrets. Will we be able to see the Winged Dragon clan in the future? Sky Disaster was also a fighting maniac. She really admired the Winged Dragon clan. I can't say for sure whether we can see the Winged Dragon or not. But in the legends, the appearance of the Winged Dragon might be a bit like this foodie. Yu Yang grabbed the golden beast that was sleeping soundly on his wrist and unfolded its body. At the same time, he explained, the Winged Dragon has wings. It is slightly different from the true dragons of the Eastern clan. However, the Winged Dragon is also a true dragon clan. The Eastern True Dragon clan is a big clan that includes many other dragon clans, such as Divine Dragon, True Dragon, Sky Dragon, Flood Dragon, Hornless Dragon, and so on. Some of them do not even look like dragons, for example, the 9 Sons of the Dragon. The appearance of the Winged Dragon is already considered close to the appearance of the True Dragon clan, just that it has an extra pair of wings. So it looks like this? Sky Disaster wanted to reach out and grab the tail of the golden beast and lift it up to take a closer look. However, The sleepy golden beast looked at everyone lazily and instantly rolled back into Yu Yang's wrist. It turned into a dragon-shaped wrist guard and continued to sleep soundly. Then, could the Tong Tian beast be the winged dragon? The Southern Demon King raised this question. It's possible. Lu Yi and Xia Yi were convinced. No, that's impossible. This little thing is lazy and gluttonous. It can't be the winged dragon. Princess Sisai felt that it was too far off. Moreover, this little thing's body is made of metal. It's a strange life form. It's too different from Bing Yin, and Bing Yin doesn't recognize it either. This means that there's a difference between the two. Of course, there might be some relationship between them. After all, they look very similar. Fallen Beauty wasn't too sure. Is there any point in discussing this now? Yu Yang sweated profusely. Whether the golden beast was the winged dragon or not, it was just a foodie that hadn't grown up yet. It could be a small fight, but to expect it to be of great help? It might be too early to wait for another 1,000 years. No matter what, it was confirmed that Yu Yang was going to use the God Destroyer's secret gold to create a winged dragon puppet. Furthermore, Yu Yang had even shamelessly designed a few battle forms for this pinnacle battle puppet Ying Long, which had never appeared before in this world. Among them, the human form was based on his own image. Even the sickly beauty laughed at him for being too narcissistic. Yu Yang, on the other hand, felt that if he were to use someone else's image to design a battle puppet, wouldn't he be making a huge loss? Of course, he had to advertise it himself. Yu believed in her younger brother, but she was still worried that there wasn't enough time. Even if it's done in a flash, half a month is still too little. Yu Yang could do it in a flash. However, no matter how fast and efficient he was, even if his creation speed was 1,000 times faster than Black Day and Deicide, he was still a human. Even gods like Black Day and Deicide would feel tired. Moreover, Yu Yang was still a human. How could it be easy for him to create an unprecedented winged dragon puppet that had a diameter of more than 5 kilometers and a length of 108 kilometers? The difficulty of creating a dragon head far surpassed the difficulty of creating the Dragonhawk mothership that Black Day had spent 100 years to create. This was a winged dragon puppet that could transform into many different forms. The Dragonhawk mothership was just a spaceship. The two of them were on completely different levels. Most importantly, this required half a month to complete. If it wasn't for the fact that Yu Yang was clear-headed and emotionally stable, everyone would have thought that he was crazy. I'll build it slowly, of course it's impossible to do it in half a month. Yu Yang smiled brightly as if he had a card up his sleeve. The range of my domain is limited. Even with your help, I won't be able to expand it too much. However, we don't need to build it as a whole. All we need is a scale, a dragon whisker, a dragon claw, and a dragon tooth. It'll be much easier if we split them up. We won't be able to create a whole with just a thought, not even a 10,000th of it. However, we can easily do it if we split them up. As long as we design it correctly and execute it without any mistakes, combining all the parts together in the end, half a month should be enough. Think about it, Ying Long is a winged dragon puppet. It's not a living thing, so there's no need for it to be completed with just a thought. Why don't we split it up into numbered parts, complete them in an orderly manner, and then combine them into one? Brother, I'll help too. Yu Bing's morale was high. She rolled up her sleeves and decided to help her brother. She wanted to take down this unprecedented winged dragon puppet that was 108 kilometers long in half a month. Are you guys going to move the entire Divine Destruction's secret realm back? Princess Sisai couldn't imagine it. A winged dragon that was 108 kilometers long was squeezed into the grimoire world. Yu Yang's grimoire world was very big, but it wasn't boundless. If winged dragon puppet was squeezed in, everyone would probably have to live on its claws. Yu Yang smiled. Even if he completed winged dragon puppet, he wouldn't leave it in the grimoire world. That would be too crowded. Queen Vivian Lee's black hole space and ice world were boundless. That was the best place. Moreover, when they fought against the evil deities in the future, they might even need Queen Vivian Lee's help. Did they really think that with Winged Dragon Puppet, they could easily take down the evil deities? That might not be the case. The Human Valley was a place where martial arts were forbidden. The battle power that Yu Yang displayed there was the weakest out of all the training grounds. It was completely different from the underground valley and the mountain beyond mountain. Let's do it. Although we can't help much, we can still handle the trivial work of numbering and sorting. Lu Yi, Xia Yi and the other girls who weren't strong enough always felt that they couldn't help Yu Yang. But now that the opportunity had come, they could also be of great use. Don't rush, let's check the mistakes first. Yu hurriedly stopped this group of girls who were obviously overzealous, especially Bao Air and Sky Disaster. Who knew if they would help more? The plan was right, but the blueprint was the most important. If there was any mistake, the entire Winged Dragon Puppet would fall short of success. Therefore, the most important thing now was not to take action, but to check the mistakes. This work must be completely flawless, and it must be possible to achieve. Otherwise, no matter how much effort everyone put in, Winged Dragon Puppet would not be born. Bao Air, the little girl who wanted to see the world in chaos. She also wanted to reach for the blueprint. Even Sickly Beauty, who usually doted on her, hurriedly protected those blueprints, not daring to let her get her hands on them. As for Yu Yang, he ordered her, "Go to the side, stand in the corner, and don't move your hands." Bao Air replied him with a pink mouth that could be hung on an oil bottle. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.